Yo, what up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Frolfcenter, presented by Frolfer Magazine. I'm Austin Lytle. Today's the 25th of February, 2021. I got my boys with me, Adam, Cody, Kyle. I don't know who this is really down here.
What's wrong?
But yeah, what up, gentlemen?
Oh my God!
Yeah, Cody, stop. That's so weird.
I'm Adam. What's up? Last week we said we were gonna give away this Lone Howl with a little custom dyeing from the dudes over at Dark Ace Apparel, and the winner of that this week is a YouTube user named Ma Tortured. Which I think is Matt Orchard. Matt
Orchard.
We're gonna send this out to you. I believe you're in sunny San Diego or something like that. So
yeah, dude, longtime fan.
Yeah, longtime fan. Cody, what's up with you, bud?
Oh, nothing much. Just shaved the old head.
You look much more comfortable.
Yeah, much younger.
Living the dream. I'm drinking some Hop Drop tonight. Drop top, raindrops.
Nice.
Hey.
All right, we got a little weird thing going on. Austin, tell the folks what's going on.
Yeah, hey, before we get into our special guest tonight, Mr. Sinclair, we got some local news from the ladies in the Atlanta disc golf area.
I'm going to bring them in. It's Amanda Gardner and Sierra Buford.
What's up, ladies?
Hello.
Hi. Thanks for coming on.
All right, what's up? What do you guys got up? What do you guys got going on?
Sierra, why don't you tell him?
Okay, well, we are hosting a Women's Masters Championship. Woo! So it's gonna be women's only Masters, and it's gonna be on June 26th at Oregon Park. And we will be opening up registration on March 1st, which is Monday. So we're freaking excited, y'all. It's gonna be amazing. We couldn't find this ever happening before. So
nice.
I don't know, but here we go. We're ready. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah. Has anyone done anything like this before, Amanda?
We couldn't find it.
Not here or close to here. And they seem to be few and far between even nationally. So we are positive this has to have been something that's happened before, but definitely not for us. And we're throwing out a challenge. This is Southeast. So the whole idea is to pull in women from Georgia, Florida, Alabama, South Carolina, Tennessee, and let these badass ladies that are 40 up duke it out. We're going to come up with a couple of cool little challenges if we can get enough people from a few of these states to have like a point series for the day and events and rounds and kind of crown a state champion even in that. Yeah. So we're really excited to be hub for all these incredible women that are out there duking it out.
Yeah. So is that going to be grandmasters, masters, all the age groups?
40 up, yeah.
40
Everything 40 and up. Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
How can you get involved in sponsor? Like that's the biggest thing. How can we give you money to make it better?
That is the biggest thing that we can do right now. So we've got two events that we kind of do fundraising for. We're not bugging you guys until these two. So we've kind of been self-sufficient for some of them, but really the Masters and then our Gals Fall Frenzy. So we've got a few months and gaps in between, but we're going to take everything from whole sponsors to game and event sponsors to even looking at if there's hardships for travel. Like we'd love to be able to help a lady get here that might not be able to get here or need some gas money to kick in. So we really are working on community outreach. And I think the biggest thing is, Sierra, myself, Peggy, a bunch of other ladies that are involved in our club, we keep seeing the need for events and tournaments and let's all do something about it. So we can continue to run all women's events, or we can start to specialize and really look at, let's kind of cater to our masters and let's cater to juniors. And I know North Landing's running a really cool juniors event soon. So yeah, I think that's going to be the solution to alleviate some of this tournament stress for people. But I got to tell you guys, we have a really kick-ass crew of ladies that are 40 and up in Atlanta.
Yeah, we do.
100% true. 100% true.
I would
ladies in Atlanta, but 40 and up is particularly like badass in Atlanta for whatever reason. I don't know what it is, but it's perfect.
I'd like to see maybe you guys hooking up with Jonathan Poole and maybe getting a couple of qualifying spots now for the ladies championships. Yeah, I think that's gonna be something in the works. You run a couple of successful events, and you guys are guaranteed a couple of spots for sure.
Yep,
Ruthie
we know we
Toothy
can
with
do
a
it.
Amanda Sierra, and then every emoji possible. So we had a lot of great comments. Jessica Matz, of course, with the love that's so exciting.
And this will all be posted on the women's page and the Instagram. And
Yeah, we're about to start blowing it up. So we just filled up Women's Global event, which is in May.
Congratulations.
Woo! We are full,
Nice.
y'all. And so we wanted to kind of focus on that for a second. And now that that's full, we're going to just kind of push this Masters event. So we're about to blow it up everywhere. We will absolutely be reaching out to everybody for help. So yeah, you guys are awesome. We're excited.
Count us in for something above T sponsor.
Okay.
Cool. Just let us know.
I'll probably show up if I'm here the weekend of.
Yeah,
we'll make it happen.
listen, all the volunteers, you guys know, we'll take all the help we can get for sure.
We're going to do some spotters and some things. And Oregon's been awesome. We're really excited to be back at Oregon Park. They're going to take care of us, and we've got a good crew of guys out there to start with. And then we're asking all of our women, 40 and under. We've already talked to a bunch of them. Hey, we need some volunteers out for the day and potential caddies and all kinds of volunteer positions for the day to make this just super awesome.
Oh, yeah.
This is exciting. I'm really happy. I'm going to put the flyer up again real quick so everyone can see it.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can go to Disc Golf Scene here in a day or two. Obviously, you're going to be able to find this information on Facebook. But I want everyone to see this. Make sure they have it in their brain. Remember this. It's happening. This is going to be really, really good, huh?
Yeah, we think so. We're excited.
Yeah, definitely. No doubt.
We're going to get on the map, and what better way to start, right?
Right.
Yep.
Oh, Peggy with the thanks to all the guys who supported us over the
That's right.
You know, I'm almost jealous as a guy competitor because
Careful.
you guys are doing so much great things.
Okay, so can I ask you, because we're trying to figure out, like, if women host a men's only event, is this okay? Like King of the Hill or like the Jerky or something, right?
100%. Like,
I'm full support. Like I send you guys my money every month, you know?
well, imagine this. Like, I think we have female tournament directors who sometimes have women playing and sometimes don't. You know, like Brandy Bomberlin, Melissa Avery. There have been times they've had tournaments with one or no women. So here we go right there. Love my gals. I'm 38. I'm almost there. Hey, I am right there with you. I believe that's got to be Randy because I think he's 50 now.
Yeah, that's my girl.
Yeah, Keith's old.
Randy.
Keith's real old.
Randy and I are going to Masters at the same time, I think, which is going to be
One more.
No, I'm in full support of everything you guys do, whether it's female or male. Yeah, you know, I think full equality. I'm about it, but I full support the ladies in this
through the roof.
Ladies, I appreciate you coming on. Our next guest is in the backstage area, and I told him I'd get him on at 7:40. We're right about there. Thank you. I believe, did we booked you guys for April 22nd to come back and just give us a full-on Atlanta women's disc golf experience, right?
Yep. Here.
Nice.
Calendar.
We're going to give you an hour, and we're going to talk about Waffle House and all the good stuff. So thank you for coming on. We will.
Can I get a little Peggy face thing for sponsoring a hole?
Yeah.
That's all I want. That's all I want.
We'll put everybody's face as whole sponsors. If you sponsor, we'll put out your face by the T-pad.
I'm going to buy a lot of sponsorships for a lot of people who don't want me to. All right, thanks, ladies.
All right,
we got to go.
Thank
Later,
you.
guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right. Awesome.
Cheers.
I got the introduction tonight. That's right. Hey, guys, our next guest is somewhat of a disc golf journeyman. He's basically worn every hat in the gig. He's been a pro player. He's been a field marshal at major events. He's been a huge part of the PDGA on the board of directors. He's been part of the game development team. He's done pretty much everything. If you guys would give a warm welcome to Mr. Shawn Sinclair.
What's up, Sean?
Nice hat. Hey, how's it going?
You don't own that hat. I know who owns that hat.
I may have stolen it.
That's fine. For the night, it's good, man. How are you doing?
I am doing great. Hopefully I can continue to see you. I normally have to wear glasses, and these are actually like my safety glasses for working out in
your welding glasses
in the shop. And I've got my readers underneath it. So
listen, if you start with them, you can take them off. As long as you got them on to begin with, everyone's cool. People only watch 6 minutes of every video we make anyway. I've seen the stats. It's fine. You're good. You're covered.
I know. Our YouTube channel's the same way.
YouTube It's so weird. We got 1,000 people. We finally crossed 1,000 on Facebook. We're at like 139 on YouTube. Like, what is
Just
happening?
need to put Mr. Beast in the title of all our videos, I guess.
Let's go.
It's funny. It's funny you said that. I have an idea. I'll let the cat out of the bag. So hopefully nobody else steals it. But I want to do a world's most boring video where I go out and do like 10,000 25-foot putts. And
just 10 hours
and put a counter up there and keep track of it all, and super speed play, but use the hashtags Mr. Beast, because that's the type of stuff he would do, and just see what happens.
And you're a marathon runner, you could probably get into the groove of something like that. Right?
Possibly.
You start feeling it hurts so bad, sort of thing, right?
There's a point when you're doing ultra running after about 6 hours where you kind of just get into a no man's land and you kind of just forget where you are, and all of a sudden it's 10 hours later and you're still going.
You're like in a trance. You're just feeling about how many blisters you got. You're just counting blisters.
Have you ever heard of Run Bum Sean Blanton? He goes by Run Bum.
I haven't. I haven't.
He's more in the South, Florida and Georgia, but he's a character, and he hosts those ultra marathon events and death races, as people call them.
Yeah, there's a gentleman that I knew for a long time. He's out of Southern California that was real big into disc golf and was also a runner. He was doing marathons at the time, and switched over to ultra running, and he's one of the best ultra runners in the world.
Oh, wow.
He can go out and do a 100-mile race without even training.
Nice.
I can't do 100 yards without like stopping.
I can't do yards for that.
It's just like anything. It's all training. I mean, my running journey, when I got into it, I was like 240 pounds, sitting on the couch, eating a half-gallon of ice cream while watching Biggest Loser. Just the whole package.
The whole American dream.
And on there, the last challenge they did, they have to do a full marathon, and these people are still super overweight, no training. I'm like, if they can do a marathon, I can. And like literally that night, I got online, was like marathon training schedule, and I remember like being 3 weeks into it, and my long run was 5 miles, and I like had water bottles and food, and I was like gonna leave a note for my friends, like, if I don't make it back, come find me, So. It's all just training. He's
got an avalanche
anything
on his shirt, like.
Yeah, I use that same analogy when I'm working with people trying to help them with disc golf. I go, you can't walk into a gym, put 300 pounds on a bar, and just bench press 300 pounds.
Yeah, you can't walk on the course with a 175 gram Champ Destroyer and hyzer flip it.
Yep. Simon and Eagle didn't walk over to a disc and go, "Oh, look, 700 feet." They've been playing for years and years and years, and
they've been playing since they were toddlers.
Yes, and they've been throwing 100 million throws, and they've worked at it. So, Scott Livingston. I love the Barkley Marathon. Sarah and I actually went out there last year and jogged the trails. It's brutal. I have aspirations of being able to do 1 lap of the 5 laps needed.
How long is that, man? And then I've never heard of this. I'm not a runner. I'm not deep, but
it's just outside of like the Knoxville area. It's in the Frozen Head State Park. It's been going on for decades, and it's 5 what used to be 20-mile loops. And now it's closer to 26-mile loops. And just to put it into perspective, the 2-hour marathon just got broken for the first time. But this race, you have 12 hours to finish 1 lap.
Wow.
And out of the 40 people that start, usually about 5 people finish 1 lap each year. And as Scott has said, I think there's been 18 to 20 people in the history of the sport that have ever finished all 5 laps. And you have 60 hours.
Park Ironman, you're nothing. 72 holes, nothing.
That's like
Yeah,
I just watched this documentary about the guy that his lactic acid doesn't build up, so he can just run forever. He's like 50 years old
Whoa.
and 100 miles. Like he said, he runs like 3 or 4 marathons a week, and he broke the planking world record for he planked for 8 hours because his lactic acid doesn't build up for some reason.
That's not even fair.
That's gonna run up on him. I think
He's not very fast, but
law of diminishing returns on that. I'm sure.
Right? He'll just fall apart one day.
Someday he's just gonna crumple. Yeah.
So back to disc golf.
Yeah, that's sport.
Yeah. Next week we'll just do a marathon podcast.
It'll be Maralford next week. Yeah.
Yes.
So what was your first disc golf experience? What got you out there on the course?
So I grew up spent the first 10 years of my life in Huntington Beach, California. The famous Paul Macbeth. And
that guy.
That guy. I think we've heard of him. $10 million later.
We'll get to that.
The arguably the second disc golf course ever put in, Central Park down there in Huntington Beach, was, I don't know, 5 blocks from my house. And me and my cousin in either 77 or 78 would take I had a black Whammo Classic, and back in the 70s when you were 7, 8 years old, your parents are like, yeah, go play. Yeah. Go play a couple miles away at that age. We don't care. So me and my cousin would just go out with a black Whammo. We didn't know how the game was played. We would go out and we'd be like, oh, there's one. Let's throw to that one. And we get done and we like, how many times did you throw? And it's like, 322. And we didn't care. We were just out there in the 70s throwing black Whammo Classics at these baskets. Bunch of people out there, super cool. And then when I was 10, we moved up to the Monterey Peninsula area, and I never played again until 1993 at Sonoma State when I was going to college. And there was a course on the campus, and the world famous United Flyers of Sonoma that have been around since the 60s and 70s, they held the California State Overall Championship. And it was freestyle and distance and self-caught flight, and disc golf was part of it. And I had just started throwing discs. I literally owned like 3 discs. I think I owned like a Scorpion, a Rock, and a Magnet maybe. And all the guys that were in my major, they were like, oh, we're running this tournament. You should come out and play. And so in 94 and 95, I played the California State Overall Championships and got super addicted. And in 96, I joined the PDGA. And back in those days, when you showed up at a tournament to decide what division, they're like, all right, throw a disc for me. And the TD and the staff would kind of go, oh,
That's still
maybe
how they do it on the west side of Atlanta.
They're like, maybe you should be playing pro. And they let me play amateur. And so I signed up as advanced with the PDGA, and I think I played 6 or 7 events. I'd have to go back and look at my PDGA stats, but the last 3 events, including NorCal Championship, I won all of those. And in NorCal at the time, they had a rule that if you finished in the top 20% in 80% of the time, so your last 5 events, you had to move up. So I got to play 1 year of amateur, and then in 1997, I got booted out and had to go play pro. And it was back with, that was in NorCal when Climo used to come out, and Greenwell and Ron Russell and Mike Randolph and Stokely. And then you had all these old NorCal guys. You had Bomba and Stevie Rico and the Lissamans, 2 Hall of Famers, just all these people. And I'm just like crazy intimidated. And anyways, just figured it out and started playing pro. And Then I played another year pro in 98 and actually went to the Pro Worlds in Cincinnati in 98. And then in 99, I was, those previous years, 97, 98, I was a school teacher. In 99, last day of school, I hopped in my truck and drove 39 hours to Kansas City and played on zero sleep and played the Kansas City Wide Open and toured all summer long, played Worlds, and drove straight back to the first day of school. And I taught one more year and I was like, I'm done. And then hit the tour full time.
Nice.
After the year 2000.
That's awesome. It sounds like early 90s skateboarding demos, go on the road and just live your life out there, you know?
Yep, I had played college baseball, and that, just went its way, and I, didn't want to go play pro and live for a Happy Meal and someone's floor, and didn't want to chase that dream, and so focused on school, got my degree, and switched over to disc golf. And I was actually a school teacher, which enabled me to, be off in the summer. And I was sitting there in Northern California, renting a room an hour from where I was teaching school, commuting. Sometimes the traffic would be so bad, I'd literally just like sleep in the back of my truck because I didn't want to drive home in the traffic just to sleep. And I'd go and like shower in the multi-purpose room, and just, well, it wasn't a great life. I love teaching, but I was like, man, I've been going out and playing disc golf and cashing and making some money. And it's like teaching will always be there. I can go back to it. And it was like right there on the spot. I went in and told the principal, I'm done. Last year, I went to the flea market, sold everything I owned.
Wow.
Except for what I was bringing with me. I didn't put anything in storage. I just 100% went at it. I had a little bit of money in the bank and was just like, let's see what happens.
It sounds like being a single mom, you know what I mean?
So after that decision, do you have like a most memorable win or a memorable moment from your touring days?
So I think the biggest first exciting thing was in the Worlds in 2001. I was on the third card pretty much the whole entire tournament. And the last round, the semifinals, Mike Randolph, longtime perennial player who had been in the Final Four and the Final Nine multiple times. And we were on the same card together that last round. And he and I were like with one stroke of each other going back and forth, and ended up getting a putt on the last hole to bounce him out of the top 10 at World for the first time in his entire career.
Oh, wow.
So that was kind of exciting. But then the next year in 2002, I went over to Europe and played a tournament in just outside of England in Bedminster, and then played the Stockholm Disc Golf Championships. And the tournament in England wasn't so great. There was a handful of good players. No money.
Was it rainy in England?
No, it didn't rain at all. It was beautiful.
I think one of 7 weeks in the last 2 decades. I think
Probably, yeah. But then went over to Stockholm and just had an amazing trip, and didn't have any expectations. A lot of top Swedish players were over there. There's 118 pros, one of the biggest fields I'd ever played in, and played phenomenal, and came down to the last hole, and I made my putt on 18 to tie with Timo Persio, who was the top player over there at the time. And we went to a playoff, and I threw a thumber on a hole that I had just been struggling with all week long, and plopped it right next to the basket, put the putt in. And
thumber's the cheat code, right?
Yep, exactly. It's that it's getting that super glide big skip disc in the Disc Golf Valley. Yeah. So getting that win in Stockholm was pretty phenomenal. Here's a funny little side note about how far we've come. 118 open. First place was $500. The last most recent Stockholm Disc Golf Championships, first place was $7,500.
Nice.
Jeez. That's good to know, at least, right?
That's like my GME.
Yep.
There's not a lot of people that say they've won a tournament in multiple countries. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
And that's my next goal. So I was the first person to play in all 50 states.
Okay.
And yeah.
What was the last
And-
one? What was the last one you got?
Alaska.
Of course, right?
Yep. I had Hawaii.
Did you
And-
solely take the trip to Alaska to get the course on your belt?
50-50. It was I did a cruise. It was
Okay.
like a
Okay.
14-day inside passage cruise, but yes, completely set it up to go to Juneau and play the course there in Juneau. Met up with one of the locals, had it all set up. They picked us up at the dock and drove us over there and got to
That's
play.
neat.
And that was the 50th
How many-
state.
That's
How
incredible.
many of the courses in one state did you shoot under par at? Can you say you shot under par at 50 courses in 50 states?
I have no idea. I am one of those people that never keep score. I have never kept score when I play practice rounds.
Really?
Yeah, never done it. Never done it.
That's
When I was
really
playing, when I was traveling and playing courses just to play courses for fun, that's all I was doing, was playing for fun. But then when I'd get to a course that I was practicing, it was to practice the course. I would throw 2 or 3 shots on a hole. If I didn't like it, I'd go back and throw it 2 or 3 more times. Like, I never worried about my score. I just
Yes. So when you
focused on the holes.
When you were competing, were you somebody who was averse to knowing the score when you were competing professionally? Like if somebody said, "Hey, do you want to know your score?" What would you say? Yes or no?
I was one of those people that knew the score for everybody on the course. I really studied the game and knew everybody's throw. I could tell you what disc every player threw on every hole after the end of the round. I that's just what I did. I studied the game. I knew the game. I knew everybody else's game, and I did that because I didn't want their game to affect me.
Right.
I knew that Barry Schultz was throwing this DX Valkyrie into a headwind, but I knew that it was this special disc that he had picked up at the factory that nobody else had, and if anybody else is throwing a normal DX Valkyrie, it's flipping up and rolling sideways. But there was something weird about that Valkyrie.
Yeah.
And so by me knowing that, I didn't get thrown off my game and go, whoa, how did he just throw a Valkyrie? I better disc down. So yeah, I knew the score just because I was paying attention. I wasn't doing it because I was like in the competition. I need to know where they at. Do I need to lay up? It was just a habit that I just knew what it was.
So, you're primarily playing for fun nowadays, right?
100% for fun. Yep.
It's always for fun, Austin. If you're not having fun,
but no more tournaments is what I'm saying.
No, the last tournament I played
Very
was in
little.
2009. Yeah, 2009.
Oh, wow.
My last tournament win, here's a fun little bit of trivia. I was living in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and came down to the Nashville area to play a tournament. And was playing pretty good on the lead card the whole way. And we're getting close to the last couple holes. It was super windy. I was like, oh, should I go for this putt? It's 40 feet into a headwind. Ugh, I'm nervous. What to do? Went for the putt, made it. And after I was done, one of the guys in my group was like, man, glad you went for that putt. There was a little 13-year-old kid that came up from the second card who tied you. And I was like, what? Who is that? And it was some string bean little kid named Will Schustrick.
Yeah, that's awesome. What was that?
Yeah, I'd never. It was either 08 or 09. Yeah,
I had 08 or 09.
Yeah, I had no idea. I'd never heard of him. Just this little tiny kid that weighed about 80 pounds and was already shooting lights out.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
So, what do you got in your bag nowadays when you go out and play casual rounds?
Sarah's probably watching and laughing at this right now. It's whatever falls off of somebody else's cart or bag or whatever I find while I'm on the road. I literally do not have the same disc in my bag twice. We went out and threw on our course this afternoon, and I think I threw a couple of Leopard 3s. I have a regular Ballista, not a Ballista Pro, just a regular Ballista. I've got a T-Bird. I had an F5. I just hodgepodge of whatever. It's always changing.
Good smorgasbord. I love it.
Yep.
So while you were touring, what was your go-to disc?
So
the favorite company that you were sponsored of.
Well, there was only one. And it goes all the way back to 98. 98. I got sponsored by Discraft for half a second. But back then, sponsorship, it was either Discraft or Innova. And sponsorship was, hey, here's 10 discs and a hat. Good luck. Yeah. That was the extreme sponsorship.
$10 million?
No, not even close. Not even close. I know Climo had all kinds of special treatment. He got his stuff paid for, and he was getting a whopping 25 cents a disc, but he had 7-8 discs and was still making $5,000 to $7,000 a month back in the 90s. So that was huge money back then. Yeah. So I had actually signed with Discraft, and then right after that, this little bag company out of St. Louis approached me and said, hey, we're going to start making discs. Do you want to help us? They didn't really have any discs at the time. I think they had Gateway, that is. I think they had the Saber. Yep, Gateway. I think they had the Saber and the Blaze. They didn't even have the Wizard yet. That didn't come out till 2000. But Dave McCormick, who I'd already known for a couple of years traveling and going through there and seeing him, he, some weird back-end deal, had bought somebody's seniority at TWA Airlines, which became American. American bought them out. Their hub was in St. Louis. And he said, you can throw any disc you want. I'll pay for this many tournaments. I'll get you a bag. I'll get you shirts, whatever you want. You help us design new discs, and I'll fly you anywhere you want in the country for free.
Wow. Did you have anything to do with the Element?
Absolutely.
Dude, that was my first ace. I absolutely love that disc.
Yep. All of those are early discs for sure. Yep. But I was like, all right, see you later, Discraft. You're not giving me airline tickets. And so as a school teacher, super close to the San Francisco airport, I had a voucher number, and I could be like, oh, look, Texas State this weekend. Wow. I'm going to go. I'd call the TD pre-internet. I'd call the TD and say, hey, you got a spot? And they'd be like, yeah, I'll put you on the list. And I'd just walk up to the counter on, like a Thursday afternoon, and they put me on standby, and I'd fly to Texas. And so the first few years, I just got to fly around for free. And then TWA got bought out by American, and that went away. But so all the way back to your question, my go-to disc is going to sound crazy, but my favorite disc of all time was the Saber.
Nice.
I'm so fascinated amongst all this now. Like I want to.
So why? Especially since we have Rico and Phil Arthur coming on hopefully soon, and it's just
I've
the
known
innovators. The innovators.
Yep, I've known Bamba and Stevie. I started playing with them, back in the '90s. They were in SoCal and I was in NorCal, and we would play together. I've known them forever.
Yeah, Rico showed up on our New Year's Eve show. We didn't know it. Murder Mike just happened to be sitting with him. He goes, "This is my buddy Esteban Rico." And we're like, "What?" Well, sorry, yeah.
Yeah. But the saber, I don't know if you've ever thrown one. It's kind of a faster eagle. It's got kind of the same stability as an eagle, but it's got a sharper rim. It has a rim sharpness.
Like a Firebird.
Stop.
Well, it's way sharper. It's not overstable at all. It has like great flip up, straight, flat, but it's sharper, so it's faster. But it had a big dome on it, and back in the '90s and early 2000s, I could throw those things 600 feet.
Hell
yeah, dude, that's sick.
So how long did you do that with Gateway?
Up until I stopped playing. I never switched. I stayed with them.
Nice.
Yeah, I actually in 2003, after traveling for 3.5 years, got an apartment in St. Louis. Just kind of like middle of the country, kind of a home base, could come home, reset, go back out. And I actually worked a little bit at Gateway, did some office stuff, help make discs. It's not fun making discs. Don't do it.
No.
Seems like it's glamorous.
It sounds like a lot of like blowing plastic out of your nose when you get home.
Those discs are coming out of that machine at 400 degrees, and they burn the tips of your fingers off, and it's not fun. You're just sitting there for hours on end. There's a reason.
Dishwasher, but you're making things. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a reason Latitude has it all automated with robots, because you don't want to sit there.
They have the.
Is that disc even in production anymore?
Yeah, they still make the Saber. Yep. You can see it.
Okay.
We were trying to do a video of like the most stable discs, and somebody's like, "Get a Saber, and just throw it out there and see what happens." But I'm like, it doesn't sound like it. No,
Saber is not it. The most overstable one they made was the Spirit.
No, you know what? I'm mistaking it. It was the Spirit he was talking about. Never mind. My bad. I'm going to check back out. My bad.
Nobody wants to sit around and with the flashing tool all day, removing flashing. That's like the automation. It's so easy nowadays. It's crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
So we do have a viewer question.
Oh yeah, this is a good one. It's from Sarah Sinclair. I hope I'm saying that right. From the
ask you about your longest throws.
Yeah.
So that's funny that she said that because she heard Spirit. I was in Northwest Iowa doing a entire day at a high school. I took over all their PE classes.
Nice.
And did disc golf. Last class of the day was all 12th grade boys.
Oh,
and they came out, and their regular teacher was like, "Okay, here's this guy's professional disc golfer." And soon as they said disc golf and frisbee, I just saw all the kids just
glaze over.
They were just done. They didn't want to have anything to do with it. And so, yep. And so instead of just like jumping into technique and teaching, I just went over the bag and grabbed like 5 discs and just fired them off real quick. Kind of got their attention. And one of them out of nowhere just said, "Oh, what's the world record? What's the longest drive?" And at the time, it was Christian Sandstrom at 820 feet with a DX Valkyrie.
Wow.
Funny note about that, they were doing the Big D in the desert, and 20 minutes before that, Ken Jarvis out of San Diego threw a 168 DX T-Bird 818 feet and broke the record. maybe he had the record for like 45 minutes. So they did one round. Jarvis broke the world record, first person to throw over 800 feet with a DX T-Bird, and then 45 minutes later they did the second round, and Christian Sandstrom broke it at 820 feet with a Valkyrie.
That makes me feel good about my Roadrunners in my bag. I got like 19 Roadrunners in the bag right now. I feel good. I feel good about it.
I mean, the first disc to ever go over 700 feet was a Discraft XL.
Yeah.
There we go.
So,
there we go.
Was that Stokely?
That was Stokely, yeah. Same location, the Big D in the desert, yeah.
Yeah.
So I told the kids, I was like, 820 feet. And they were like, no way. And, of course, they're like, can you throw that far? It's just like,
I can try.
So, you should have said it's like 550.
So I reached it. I reached in my bag, just my golf bag that I had, and I had a max weight green Spirit. I actually just posted this on my Instagram story a few weeks ago. I still have the disc.
Wow.
And I said, oh, they do a different throw. They don't do the regular backhand throw like I just did. They do more of like a discus where they turn around and do a 360, and they're like, show us. And so,
like Jennifer Allen, basically.
Yep. And I just randomly did the full 360 and threw one. And as soon as I let go of it, I knew it was just absolutely perfect. Best throw I've ever thrown in my entire life. Went across all of the football fields, left the property, and went over a fence. Disappeared. The kids went from not paying attention to literally like lined up like soldiers. Like, how do we get these discs? Let's go. And it ended up being like the best class I had taught. And so I put my bag right where I'd thrown from, taught the rest of the class. And then afterwards I went into the maintenance place and I was like, oh, do you guys have a long tape measure or a wheel or something? The guy's like, oh, I got a wheel. And so I rolled it off and it was 742 feet.
Whew, yeah.
With a stock max weight Spirit straight out of my bag. One throw.
That's amazing. Okay, so you've done a lot of stuff in disc golf. Like, you've been a pro player. You've been a field marshal at all the big events. You've been part of the PDGA board of directors. And there's something I read in an interview with you where you were part of the game development team or game development program.
Yeah, so the PDGA has a ton of committees. The rules committee, the competition committee, disciplinary committee, senior, military. And one of them for a handful of years was the game development team. And there was 6 or 7 of us on there. And the idea was to just look at the game and think about just out of the box stuff. What's possible? Yeah. What would work? What doesn't work? And
what's the weirdest thing we got close to seeing?
Well,
what's the weirdest thing you guys almost did?
Well, there was a couple of items that came from the USDGC that
sticks.
No, it was a couple ideas that
stroke and distance type
that they wanted to. No, way worse than that.
Oh,
I won't say worse. I'll say more inventive. So the first one.
That's such strong wording, Sean.
More.
Do you know how on a lot of the holes out there they have those paver things around the baskets with the gravel inside of them, and the basket's like elevated. I don't remember the exact distance of those, if they're 2 meters or 2.5 meters or whatever they are.
Can't be more than 3 meters at most.
Yeah. So someone on the team didn't like tap-in putts. Thought that you should have to, throw the disc into the basket. So the idea,
full.
Well, just from 3 meters or 2 meters or whatever.
Yeah.
Yes. So the idea was, if your disc landed in those little planter things, you had to pick up your disc and go outside of them and putt from the outside of those planters, those rings.
Oh my God.
No stroke penalty or a stroke penalty?
No stroke
You can't be
penalty.
penalized for that.
So ultimately, it came down to hole 18 on that course. If you've ever stood on that green and looked straight down that hill at the water, elevated basket, wind blowing up in your face, and the scenario was last hole, XYZ player has a 1-stroke lead, perfect drive, perfect upshot under the basket, $15,000 first place, here it comes. Now you're going to tell them they have to back up 8, 9, 10 feet and make that putt. In this day and age,
do it for the camera.
That should be 100%. But as we know, sometimes those baskets miss. Not our fault.
Mach
and
3,
you're gonna tell somebody that they just had a spit out for $15,000 because you didn't want them to have a tap in.
Yeah, that is not a good argument.
That is a good one.
Yeah, okay. and then the other crazy one was the famous hole 5 out there, the one that Garrett Gerthy got the eagle on with that crazy roller last year. When they moved the tee over onto the dock, from on the grass, it all but eliminated any chance of going for the eagle. It was just way too far. And they didn't like that at all. They wanted people going for the eagle. So the idea was they were going to do like the hazard rule, basically. Like if you throw in the water, you take the penalty, but you just bring it perpendicular. You don't lose the distance, whether you cross land or not.
Oh, wow.
So the idea was they're going to have everybody throw 700 feet as far as they can, trying to cross the land. But if you don't, just try to get safe. But if you don't lose the distance. You just get to bring it across. And the idea was, well, how do you tell where it is in the water? They were going to put colored buoys in the water.
Oh, and we're gonna have a boat sitting out there at all times, so we can drop colored buoys at that time.
Yes, and then they're gonna have spotters on the water's edge, going, oh, that's between the red and the blue buoy. You're like right here.
Right. So
this is gonna be an Andrew
paid as a field marshal, but they're gonna hire boats. I mean, I'm just kind of putting that out. I'm just kind of saying. I mean, that was a thing, right? I mean, that is absolutely wild. Moving the game forward, does anything need to change? The baskets need to get smaller. Do we need to adjust the jump putt? Is there room for adjustment in the game right now?
So with the jump putt, I have been dealing with this personally since going back, I want to say like 2010, when the first like 4K slow-mo cameras came out. I went and bought one, and I actually have some stuff on my personal YouTube channel at the Lemon Lake Worlds, where I filmed people like throwing and then doing some jump putts and stuff. And at the time, the most controversial was Feldberg. He was one of the first people to do the step putt, and everybody's like, it's illegal.
Careful,
that's
we're
illegal.
From Georgia. Careful, we're from Georgia. I'm just kidding.
So I took that. It was an actual like digital camera that did 260 frames per second or something, and it's still up on my channel. But it was Feldberg doing the step putt, and it was so legal it wasn't even funny. It wasn't even close in super slow-mo. But then I have done other people doing traditional jump putts, and they've been so far illegal it's not even funny. And so what it comes down to is, for me, is how can you have a rule that we can't enforce? Because the human eye can't tell. I can tell at 500 frames per second or whatever, but in person, I can't tell. So to me, there's kind of two solutions. One that I think is the most feasible is, you've seen the putt. I think Dickerson does it. Page will do it occasionally, but their plant foot stays behind the disc. So say
no matter what that change it to that, no matter what the front foot does, as long as they have that.
So you can, it kind of looks like a step putt, kind of looks like a jump putt. It's kind of a hybrid, but they lunge forward, but that back plant foot stays on the ground behind the disc. Dickerson does that. Page has done it occasionally.
Pivot.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So that's one idea, is to say that you must keep one supporting point in contact behind the disc outside of 10 meters. But the problem is what happens when, it gets sketchy when you start getting into throwing the disc. If I'm in the fairway on a big par 5 and I want to fully all out throw, think about James Conrad. That guy goes flying 50 feet past his disc. So how do you word it so that you have to keep one foot in contact if it's a putt, but not a throw? And then
especially like a patent pending shot.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So the other solution is, if you're familiar with traditional golf, and they have like the 150 markers, on either side of the fairway. Sometimes it's in the middle, and they'll have 2 markers showing you that you're 150 yards from the green. Just be like 2 little red stakes or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So most people from, say, 50 meters or 40 meters are not jump putting. That's 132 feet, 138 feet, something like that. People aren't jump putting from that distance. So my idea there was eliminate the 10-meter circle, and from the basket on the line of play to the tee, you put 2 markers, super simple, on either side of the fairway at 40 meters, 45 meters. If you are on the basket side of those markers, can't follow through. If you're on the tee side, you can follow through. And at that distance, I don't really care. If you're within a foot or 2, dealer's choice. That completely eliminates the jump putt. Do we want that? Jump putt's pretty exciting, but it fixes the rule.
I freaking love that. I don't know why I've never heard of that.
Shawn for president.
Yeah, Sinclair for president. I'm about it.
Which tournament is it where the ratings don't count? Is that USDGC where the ratings don't count?
USDGC,
yeah. USDGC.
Yeah, the price is right.
What do you think?
They're
all right. Whose line is it, anyways? Right.
So they're an XM and an XM tier, and the ratings don't count because they don't work in the formula. When you've got people taking 21s on a hole and people taking 2s. It just doesn't work, and the throw and distance, where you got to rethrow and rethrow.
Is that worth
and rethrow.
Or leaving alone?
The problem is that is not a PDGA owned major.
No, understood. I guess
we own all the worlds.
Yeah.
Innova through shake hand deals way back in the early 2000s. Became the owners of that event, and so if they don't even want to sanction it, they can. And we can say, if you want to put buoys out in the water, we're not going to sanction the event. Gotcha. If you're going to do something crazy, we're not going to sanction the event. Okay. But it's 100% their choice that they want to use rules that require waivers and different stuff, and it doesn't work with the algorithm, and you can't rate the rounds.
But I mean,
speaking of the algorithm, speaking of the algorithm, we've noticed. I don't know who
what
came
is
up with
the
this?
algorithm.
Chuck Kennedy, did he come up with this?
It was 2 guys, up in Minnesota.
There's a rumor going around, without Chuck Kennedy keeping it kind of in check, that the ratings are just going to run away, and eventually we'll see Paul Macbeth or Ricky rated 1070, 1075. Is that true? Is it, does it need to be adjusted every once in a while, or?
So you need to get my coworker on here. You guys know Todd Lyon?
Oh, yeah. We'll take him.
We'll take him.
Yeah. So Todd could explain ratings to you till you're blue in the face.
Let's do it. We're gonna have a 4-part mini series about it.
I'm kind of like you guys on surface. For the most part, ratings work. The best players end up with the best ratings. All the points in coming into a tournament are all the points out, and you get the same rating across the board, whether it's this course or that course. It ends up all making sense. Every rumor that people put out there, like, oh, if I play this event as a B tier and shoot 54, I only get rated 968, but when the big boys are in town, I shoot 54, it's rated 1030. That's not true.
So that goes back, Kevin McCoy, if you're watching. Shawn saying your theory is false. your A tier, B tier, C tier theory is false.
I mean, but why is it when you plug Paul McBeth into your tournament that the ratings go up?
It shouldn't go up. It's that.
I mean, I say this, and I say, like, before you publish your official ratings for your tournament when you're doing your officials in the end of event, if you plug Paul McBeth into your tournament, like, the ratings definitely go up, but that's never like posted as official.
You're not supposed to do that, Austin.
I was gonna say that's probably just a.
If I have the ability as a TD to do so, like, why not? Like, why not try?
The fail safe is when you click the button. You haven't clicked the button, probably.
Right. I've never clicked the button. I just put his name in there, and then, like, the ratings go up, and then you take him out, and then the ratings go back to what they were.
I think that's computer nerd stuff. That's not algorithm.
Well, it's also because
we need Mr. Lion on here.
Yeah, it's also because he's adding, 1,053 points to the pool.
Right.
So,
and I think what you just answered it is it has those points that are backing him.
Yes, and I mean the simplest form is if you've got the 10 highest rated players at your event, and let's say I'm 1,000 rated player and everybody else is 1025 and above, and when I play my local B tier, I'm the highest rated player.
Yeah.
Right.
And so if I shoot 54, technically the SSA gets set by that field, and so the scores are compared against that SSA set from that field, and it should work exactly the same, but it's going to look like my rating's lower compared to those other 10 guys that took all the points, because they're way better than me.
Yeah,
There's definitely propagators in all of this.
Yeah, Martin Young's a big SSA guy. I don't know if you've ever met him.
I have not. Yeah, I would love to be more help. I direct you to Todd. I'm just you. I'm on the surface.
Now, ratings are a completely different hour subject, I promise.
Yes, they are.
So, speaking of Paul McBeth, when you got serious, when you quit teaching and said, I'm selling everything, I'm going on the road, did you ever think we'd see a 10 million, 10-year deal with a professional disc golfer?
50 years from now?
50 years from now.
I didn't think it was going to happen this soon. We would all sit around the campground, shooting the breeze and dreaming about, what's going to happen and how it's going to get there and blah, 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 blah. And it's only going to happen if we wear a collared shirt. That was the rule. It's never going to happen if we wear a collared shirt.
Nico LaCastro.
Yeah. I mean, just go look at the Street League skateboarding. Those guys don't wear shirts.
Exactly.
And they're covered in tattoos, and they're throwing their skateboard in the audience and breaking the board, and
that's what the people want to see.
At a skateboarding moment. We are at the Brody Smith Paul McBeth deal is the Tony Hawk Pro Skater video game right now. We are going to the moon on a bell curve right now.
But really, people want to see the John Daly's and the people out there causing a ruckus.
Yeah, we were just discussing, the stuff that's happened just a couple of days ago on social media with the Player of the Year and all that stuff, and how Paul and Paige are like, fake news, blah, blah, blah. And everybody's like, oh, that's not right. That, that they shouldn't be able to talk that way. And I was like, have you ever watched other pro sports NBA players? All they do is trash talk and talk about the organization and just
one of those
stuff. And
part of that too is, while Tiger Woods is the best disc golfer, or until they whatever, we won't get into that. But he never won. He didn't win Player of the Year the past couple of years because you had people like Jordan Spieth breaking out. You had people like Dustin Johnson after his issues come out and ball out.
The other thing people don't understand is this is the PDGA Player of the Year, not the Disc Golf Pro Tour.
Not Twitter's Player of the Year.
So, yes. So, every event you play in on the entire year counts into the system. The DGPT events, NTs, majors, those count for more points. But to a certain extent, if you're a road warrior like Dickerson and Katrina, you're building up a large amount of smaller points. Paige played only 15 events. So
while Katrina and Dickerson both played 25 plus.
Yeah. Let's jump 5 years from now. Let's say Macbeth loses a step, whatever, and there's a new superstar coming up. Do you see this type of deal reoccurring in the next 5 years? $1 million a year?
So I think it's all going to be based on what happens with media. If you look at the salaries and the deals that are happening, they're all going up at the same level and trajectory as the amount of media is going up. We've always joked that disc golf is never going to go anywhere until it gets on TV. That was back pre-internet. So if it wasn't for Jomez and Central Coast and Gatekeeper and Smashbox and now DGN, Frolfer Magazine, giving these guys the exposure, YouTube and the streaming and Instagram, all of that stuff. I don't want to pick on any of the middle of the road players, but you've got players that are making $3,000 to $10,000 a year, which doesn't pay for their gas to be on the road, but through social media, they're hustling their merchandise, they're hustling their brand, and that's what's making these things happen. So if streaming's the future and Disc Golf Network or whoever, if ESPN or something, as the media grows, I think these deals are also going to grow. Because the reason I say that, everybody's like, oh, Paul Macbeth sells millions and millions of discs. I think
media has a lot to do with that. Absolutely.
Yes, I think that's part of it. Because what you have to think about is how many tournament players there are. So we're real close, or just got to 80,000 current members at the PDGA.
Right. I just saw that.
That means there's 160,000 casual players.
Yeah. So more. There's millions of casual players. So I don't know what the current numbers are. The last time I was trying to figure it out, and it's astronomically different, especially after this COVID year. But when you look at the amount of disc sales that companies are selling, less than 0.1% of all discs are going to PDGA tournament players.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
There are going to be so many DX Archangels in the shul at your local course.
So think about it this way. If, you go out to a park, and what's the park up in Alpharetta?
Wills Park.
Yes, go out to Wills Park, sit on hole one on a Saturday. I have, unfortunately.
Cameron,
sit out there on.
It used to be much better, Sean.
Hole one on a Saturday afternoon with a clipboard, and as players come up, go, have you heard of Paige Pierce? Have you heard of Ricky Wysocki? Have you heard of Paul Macbeth? And for the most part, it's going to be no.
It'd be Oregon Park nowadays.
What do you think? Like 80% would say no?
Yeah.
Probably. So when I've talked with retailers, like we've got the Nashville Disc Golf Store, and players come in and they go, I want a clear green one because my buddy has a clear green one and it goes really far.
Yeah.
So that's where I say, yes, Paul McBeth has a huge impact because of media. Media is being successful because of Paul McBeth. So those work together. Discraft is getting their brand on all the media, all the Jomez videos, all that stuff. They're paying for those commercials. And then when Jomez has 2 million views on a world video, there's 2 million people that are not tournament players that go, oh, I got to go get a Paul McBeth this now.
I got to get a Brody zone.
Yeah.
Yes, they're
freaky.
Let's
Yes.
go.
I don't know if you guys watched the documentary yet, the little 10-minute video he posted. I watched a little bit of
I
it.
have not.
But
it
basically,
was so good.
He said to them that when they were talking about it, he was like, you need to get some more machines. I don't know if it was stamping machines or molding machines, but he was like
molding machines.
And then 2 weeks later, they get more machines, and boom.
Every company that I've talked to, from Prodigy and DD and
everybody's
late
needing
legacy
more machines right now.
They're running 24 hours a day, and they can't keep up. When Sarah and I went down to Prodigy, it was empty. If you watch the video of us doing the tour, I had to put up like a blurry wall, and I was like, top secret, but in reality,
there was only 20 discs on that wall.
There was nothing there.
That's my sponsor, and I love them to death, and they've done so much for me. But
me too.
Yeah, I mean, nobody can keep up with their inventory, and nobody, MVP, Discraft, Innova, Prodigy, nobody can keep up with inventory.
You can't find a Star Wraith for less than $80 right now. It's ridiculous. It's so depressing.
And so at the start of this month, so we have a PDGA staff meeting once a month, and at the 1st of February was our meeting, and our memberships manager each month gives the stats and the updates on everything, and he gave the year-end stats for 2020, a COVID year where we lost 2 months of events, and we had 135% new membership growth.
Wow. Now it's
the most we'd ever had previous to that was like 17%.
Wow. That's insane.
That's I mean,
if the PDGA is growing that fast, you got to think about how much exponentially faster non-PDGA rec players, casual players are growing. I mean, if we're growing at 125%, they have more people. They're growing at 200, 300% over the COVID years.
Yeah. One of the things we're actually discussing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
This is an enormous influx in players we've been seeing, like bottlenecking into the sport, and with this amount of growth, is disc golf growing at a healthy rate right now? Would you say
that's the $1 million question? Is this a crazy influx, and all these companies go and invest all this money in these machines? An injection mold machine costs $150,000. I go out and spend $500,000 on machines and parts and
a stamp machine,
dryers and hoppers. Yeah, all this investment, and then 6 months from now, COVID goes away and we're back to normal, and people are playing soccer and ultimate.
I've heard the people saying, I've heard people saying that they're going to go back to their recreational sports like softball, whatever. Would it be?
Yeah, that's the unknown. But right now on the competition committee, the most hot topic and the most number of web submission emails we're getting right now is from people complaining that they can't play events because they're filling in 32 seconds.
And more than likely, the people that are complaining are the ones that can't get in because they don't know the pre-registration.
Well, and,
all the
and
vets,
a lot
all the savvy vets know when to register for these events.
part of that is true, but part of that is the problem.
I've got shut out. I've been doing this for 8 years. Yeah.
It shouldn't be trying to buy tickets to Justin Timberlake.
It should be getting a bomb
shouldn't be that
disc golf scene. Yeah.
I'm a JT fan too. I got you.
He's our neighbor, so.
Oh, really? He's in Nashville now, huh?
He's in Nashville, but we're on the east side. He's over on the west side. But
he's a neighbor still.
The west side.
He ain't in town.
The west side.
There's
no disc golf on the west side. When we moved here, we were looking for places to go, and west side didn't have any disc golf. So
I gotta ask you,
kind of like Atlanta.
How do I like Atlanta?
I said kind of like Atlanta.
Oh, kind of like Atlanta.
On the west side. Atlanta,
they just don't have good players.
A ghost town of Garth Brooks and bullshit. I'm just putting that out there.
And your best course is in the center of town on the corner of Snoop Dogg and Ice Cube.
You mean if you ain't in town, you ain't shit, right?
Well, it's actually on the corner of Flowers and Unicorn Rainbows now.
By the way, we have a big announcement about a league there after Shawn leaves the show, so stick around, In Town boys. So with this crazy issue we're dealing with in disc golf in 2021, TDs are kind of up against the wall. They're getting screwed real hard. Like, it hurts them. Like, last year was 1,000 times different than this year. Is there something TDs could or should do to try to mitigate that feedback? Is it on them or is it not on them? Should they raise prices? Should they make bigger sponsor packages to try to get people in early who maybe can't afford to get in early? Like, is there something to do that TDs can do this year to make sure they don't just get Yelp 1-starred the whole year?
Yeah, there's a handful of ideas that are going to take longer implementation. So for our elites and majors, we have the tiered registration. First 2 weeks is if you're rated 1,000 and above for MPO and 900 above for FPO. Yeah. Do we need to implement that down to, say, B tiers and, do tiered registration so it's not a race to click where after 32 seconds there's 200 people on the wait list.
And not to degrade anybody, but like, there are bots out. You can build a bot to do that and beat everybody.
Did you happen to see that tournament that was posted this week? It had 216 players and 218 on the wait list.
That might be the one I was talking about that filled up just instantaneously. Out in Portland, the Beaver State Fling, historically, so they actually went to a lottery system where everybody registers, pays their entry fee, and then they just draw names out of a hat.
Wow, really?
But they'll typically have 600 people on a wait list. So
that's what's going to be.
They've been dealing with that for a year. So one immediate thing that possibly we might do, just don't quote me on this at all, but
would you like to see 3 Beaver State Flings 3 weeks in a row? Would that?
Well, one of the ways they can mitigate their problem is going to separate weekends.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
But Oregon is so expensive. Renting that park, and also the staff has to take off all that time, and going to separate weekends would solve a lot of the problem, but it also brings in more headaches, and you need more people, money. Yep. But one thing possibly is, do we reduce mileage restrictions? Right now.
I was talking to this about with a guy today. I was talking
make C tiers a free for all, right?
C tiers are free for all. So you could have a C tier in
the same part,
the middle of Atlanta and central Atlanta on the same day. That's fine. But so reducing the mileage, that might be one thing.
Yeah.
The other situation is if we go to tiered registration.
This is the rating system, correct?
Who was saying
we talked about last week with Jason Light.
Jason Light said that last week.
But then you're going to have the bottom rated players never able to compete because the events will fill before you get to those other tiers.
It has to turn into a point where the ratings are updated like weekly at that point.
That's one issue for sure. And then we possibly need to start doing lower tier events only.
Yeah.
You know, we always go the other way. Like, this is elite only.
Masters only.
Yeah, maybe we need to go the other way and say, hey, this is a MA3, MA4 only event.
I like that.
And a TD can do that right now.
That would sell out instantly. And
maybe that's what we do. Maybe that's Frolfer's angle. MA4.
Yeah, we're the MA4.
No, fuck off. We're going into
maybe you have an event that's like first timers only.
Right.
Yeah. We're going to check on PDGA. You've never played an event, you can play.
And that's the PDGA. Do you think would be cool with some of these barriers to entry like that?
100%. We've talked about like the affiliate club program. Mm-hmm. You have all these leagues, but then leagues like to run bag tags like once a month. You know, that can also be another area where we can sanction those bag tags, and that's another place where people that don't want to go into the B tier realm, I'm too nervous. I've seen that.
I literally just saw that light hit above your head, Adam.
So sanctioning a bag tag type event where people feel safe with their people, and you don't have people coming in from out of town that scare you, and I can't compete against that guy. So getting
like an invitation type only.
Do you think it would be
as we grow, we're getting more and more and more lower skilled players?
Correct. I think the league type is what you're saying is the league type gameplay is driven towards bringing those people up into the game of tournament play.
And I don't know how you guys got into the game, but that was kind of my
100% what you said. Yeah.
That was my path. Is I was going to school, out there playing. I saw these guys every Thursday. They were out there at the same time. I went over and talked to them. They're like, this is our, weekly bring your own or random doubles or whatever. It's like, I'll start playing that. And then they're like, we're going to have this world's biggest event, or they said, we're going to have this PDGA event. And I was like, I'm not doing no PDGA. No. But then they said, we're going to have this world's biggest. It's not really, an event where people compete. And I was like, hey, I'll try that. And that was super fun. And then they're like, once a month we meet and, it's $5 and you can get in. I was like, hey, I'll try that. And then all of a sudden I was like, let me try one of these PDGA things. I've seen how these guys play, blah, blah, blah. So creating this system of development, kind of like the minor leagues of baseball.
It's beautiful.
Somebody here said something about AA disc golf at a farm league, and I'm going to set Austin up because Austin has brought this point up so many times, and I think he has a very succinct view of it. Is there a purpose or a reason to have the PDGA and the ADGA? Like,
I'm gonna grab
a reason to split it up between amateurs and pros.
Yeah, professionals.
Yep. So way back in the day when PDGA was two people, it was Brian Henniger and his wife up in Canada. That was PDGA. They did it all. I remember in 2000, it was a big deal when we sanctioned 300 events for the first time.
Yeah.
we're going to be over 5.
What's the number now?
I think we were in this COVID year. We were about 4,500. We'll be over 5,000.
Oh dear Lord, dude! Are you kidding me? We've added 4,200 events. That's insane.
So back in those days, everything was kind of the Wild West. It still kind of is. As it's coming on, we're like, we got too many people. We need to hire someone. We got to do this and that. And one thing I think they missed the boat on was when the internet came around, they should have worked with Ed Hedrick and gotten the name DGA. he created the Disc Golf Association. That was him. He created the PDGA.
Right.
He turned over the PDGA to the players back in whatever it was, 78 or whatever, 77. But I think we should have somehow worked out a deal to become the Disc Golf Association. And then we wouldn't have had to worry about, is it a professional? Is it an amateur?
Right.
We're the Disc Golf Association. We're the governing body. We create rules. We sanction tournaments. We deal with competition. And then at some point, similar to traditional golf, they have the USGA that deals with only tournament style stuff. They have the PGA Tour. So there's different entities. Obviously, they're dealing with a lot more money, but we're dealing with a lot more money in this day and age also. So
yeah.
I worked in the golf course industry for a very long time, about 7 to 8 years, and I could just see the growth. And you'd also see the slowbacks from it as well, but I could see the growth in the golf association and just like the juniors coming up. We were always promoting the juniors, and when I jumped into disc golf, I was just like, why is there not an amateurs association, and why is there not a juniors association, a professionals association? Like, golf has that. I don't know why we're not following that stencil.
So when I was on the board, that was definitely stuff that we've talked about.
I'm sure
it's been talked about for years and years and years, and it's currently talked about, and it's one of those things. How does it get started? How do you do it? How do you create it? Up until a handful of years ago, we didn't have a women's committee. We didn't have a seniors committee. Now we have Des Redding, who's our youth and education director. That's her full-time job, is dealing with just youth and education. We didn't have that until 2 years ago. Right. So I think we're baby stepping towards that direction. And as the Pro Tour now with, Steve Dodge and Todd Rainwater, and they're dumping millions of dollars into it, that they are possibly moving in that direction where, hey, maybe the pros can branch off and we can have a true tour. PDGA will still be the governing body that dictates and creates the rules and the competition and sanctions events and does that stuff. But the Pro Tour,
there will be a Pro Tour association.
They're their own thing. And I don't know if you saw this, but it was supposed to be 2021, but for 2022, the Amateur Worlds is breaking off.
Yeah.
And so in 2022, AM Worlds will just be MA1, FA1 only.
Yep.
All of the age protected divisions are now moving to the Masters Worlds. So there's the next step towards what you're saying, the Amateur Disc Golf Association. We're creating an elite event for the best amateurs in the world. You have Feldberg, who's running all of these national amateur disc golf events that are being hugely successful. Great job on his part. Yeah.
Right.
So
in hopes of posting these people up to the DGPT level.
Does that fit into the plan though?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. We're fully behind it. Dave, the first year that he ran that tour, I don't remember what he originally called it, but he didn't sanction any of his events. He had his idea, and I'm going to go off and do my own thing, and then realize oh, hey, PGA can kind of help me, and people want points, and they want all the ratings and blah blah blah. And so now he realizes, and he works with us and sanctions all 200 of his events or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so I completely agree with you that there needs to be those separate entities at some point. We need to have a LPDGA.
Absolutely.
And a women's tour. I don't know.
Absolutely.
I know who could run it.
I haven't looked at the most recent thing for registration for USWDGC, but let me pull it up.
I'm pretty sure they were close to full last I looked.
Well, they're at 219 women.
Yeah, they're close to full. It was 250 was the max registration, right?
Yeah, and the previous year in 2019 that we ran it, I want to say it was like 168, something like that.
I was so happy to see that the growth in the women's division in the PDGA. I think Ricky Wysocki might have posted something up. Was like its growth was almost 14% just in the women's division alone, and was huge. I think the women's growth in disc golf is the biggest thing in disc golf could happen.
So I remember back when I was touring, if there were 4 or 5 FPO, that was a good field.
Yeah.
Now if you don't have at least 32 at an elite event, you're like, what's going on?
Yeah.
It's
exactly.
Totally different.
When I was doing tournaments in Atlanta, you'd lucky to get 4 women, and now it's at least 16, 12 to 20 at every tournament. It's awesome.
Yeah. So I think back to your original question, just the continued growth and the continued need for possibly separating all that stuff out. It's really tricky. I mean, PDGA, we have 20 some employees plus, the contractors that work for us, consultants, tons of other people that work for us. It's a multi-million-dollar organization, and it's really hard to just from scratch, unless you're Todd Rainwater with billions of dollars, to go out and do a DGPT thing. Nothing against Steve Dodge. I love Steve Dodge to death, but he tried to do it with not a lot of money and wasn't very successful.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it was successful and it was a start, but it wasn't the best it could have been.
It's what it needed to be, I think.
It kind of paved the way, though.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Is this your buddy Todd?
Oh yeah, that's Todd Lyons.
There's Todd.
There he is.
Yes.
Todd, we got a lot of questions.
Send us a message. We want to spend.
Yeah, we got a whole.
You talking about ratings?
We got a whole
ratings.
We could. Man, I'll get Brian Gort to come on the show.
Yes, Brian Gort and Todd Lyons.
No, we wouldn't sue a fight. We don't want that.
You guys would never get to talk.
We would break.
I'm okay with that. I just want to watch
break the internet on that.
I just want to be here for it.
100%. So,
all right, Todd, you're the next guest. I hope you're listening.
Yeah, you're the next victim.
Todd, I hope you're ready. So you've been a field marshal for huge events. Can you tell us like the weirdest call you ever had to make?
So I started marshalling in 2006, the Augusta Worlds.
There it is.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. Brian and Todd said they'll throw it down.
I know he knows him because he spelled Brian correctly.
They already know. That would be a hilarious show. Yes.
You haven't signed up for anything yet. You tell us what you want, and we're gonna make it happen because I want this show to occur. So
I can guarantee you, Gord's not coming on.
No, Gord's not gonna be on TV. Anyway, sorry. Let's get back.
So a couple of things. One's more of a funny anecdotal thing at the 2006 Pro Worlds, my first event at what is it, Riverview Park in Augusta. There's a hole back in the back by that water treatment plant, and there's a chain link fence back there, and it's kind of a blind right-handed turnover. And I was following I want to say it was the Legends. Yeah, I was at the Legends at the time because Sylvia Vokes was in the group, and I was trying to get them to keep on pace. And we get to that hole, and the guy in the group, Coach Kuhn was his name. Just an ornery. He was an old, long-time college basketball coach. Just an ornery little guy. And along that fence, they had a banner that said, Worlds, and and they had printed a disc catcher on the side of the banner. And Coach Kuhn threw his drive about halfway down, and the pin was tucked back to the right. You couldn't see it. And he gets up and just smoked his forehand and blows up the basket on the chain link fence. and we're all like, whew, that was a little off. And then he comes around the corner and he sees the real basket. and his eyes were so bad, he genuinely thought the banner was the basket. And he was like, I couldn't believe you guys weren't cheering and yelling for me. I thought I almost put it in. I can't believe it spit out. So that was pretty darn funny that he threw it a banner. But the most difficult call I ever had to make was the 2010 Am Worlds in Ohio. And it was the pool that had all the junior divisions. Back then, juniors were at Am Worlds. So you had from 18 down to 6 years old. And to make the course fair for everybody, they had used like blue tees and red tees. And the 10 and unders were playing from the red tees, and everybody else was playing from the blue tees. And there were 8 groups total playing from the shortest red tees. And the first group of juniors that got to the red tees looked at the group in front of them playing from the blue tees, and they just went straight to the blue tees and played. The group behind them went to the blue tees because they saw their group playing, and it just dominoed. And so you had
God! So you've got so many different people
Texas
playing.
Instruments.
Oh wow!
So you had 8 cards that played like 7 holes incorrectly.
Yeah. Oh.
That's
You just tell everybody to play the same
miss
tee
point.
size or
4
what?
strokes, 2 strokes.
No, it was all in the caddy book. Every tee was labeled. So since that point, we no longer allow separate tees in the same pool. But I had to pull all the parents and all 32 of these kids and sit them down and explain that they were all going to get 8 strokes added to their scorecard.
Oh my God.
You're also talking to like some kids. I don't know about them, but like I came from an elementary school where like parents brought out a gun out of a purse at an elementary basketball game over a referee call.
Thankfully, there wasn't any issues. It was good because everybody got affected the same. It wasn't like one card played it, and one card played it differently. But I don't even remember when it was all said and done. We had to give out like 232 strokes that day.
Oh my God!
Something insane. It was unbelievable.
That's almost as many.
Oh, bless her heart.
That's terrible.
So I think
the other super tough calls are when you catch people cheating.
No, fuck those guys. It's not hard to call them.
Pencil whippers has happened a handful of times.
What's the worst? What do you think is the worst? Pencil whipping or like fake OB? Like, what's the most egregious?
Or like an aggressive footing.
You the most
like trying to put your footings.
2 things. One was lead card at an event in Texas. I will not say the players involved.
Sure. No, yeah.
But we're playing and off air. Player X turns over their shot off into the rough, and let's say it was a purple disc. Everybody else is off looking for their disc, doing our thing, but we knew his was way off.
Definitely.
Yeah, so we throw our shots. We go over and we're trying to locate his disc. He's like 60 feet away from us, and he lifts up a purple disc, and he's like, "Oh, got it." And we all turn around. We're like, no, there is no possible way. So, that was lead card of an A tier that happened. But another one was
3 out of 4 people on the card is enough to overturn that, though, right?
We didn't know what to do. We couldn't find the other disc. He had a purple disc. We didn't know what purple disc he threw. He marked it and threw. It's like,
I think you ask Buddy if that thing touches his butthole and tell him to go.
But another situation happened at Am Worlds with a kid and his parent. Kid threw a shot we witnessed it go into the lake.
Oh wow!
And the other junior kid, these were like 10-year-olds. The other junior kids are like off looking for their disc, and the 10-year-old kid's like standing at the water's edge trying to see if he can see where it is. The dad's about 30 feet behind him and goes, "Oh, you're right here. I got it." And
oh my god,
dude, how
had to walk over.
Do you call Child Protective Services at this point because their parents are terrible people? Like, what do you do?
Yeah, what do you do?
So I brought the whole group together. There's 4 parents, 4 kids, and I said, "Okay, I'm not on the card. I'm just an official. You guys have to make this call. What did you see?" And all 3 kids are like, "We 100% saw it hit the water." All the parents were like, "Yep, we saw it hit the water." And the dad was like, "Absolutely not. This is the disc right here, blah, 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 blah." And I just straight up looked at the kid and just like leaned in close to the kid. And I was like, "Do you think it went in the water?" And he like dropped his head.
Oh.
And I looked at all the parents, and I
bet
said,
you that kid's not playing on the tour right now.
"No, he's definitely not." I said to all the parents,
"100% not Raven Newsom, guys. It's not Raven Newsom. Don't start that rumor on Twitter. It's not him."
I said, "The kids are playing this event, not you. You are not involved in this. They make all the calls. You are simply chaperones." And I turned and looked at the dad, and I said, "Take this as your official warning. If I hear anything else,
Nice.
your son goes home.
Yeah.
Not you. Your son is done."
Yeah.
I said, "So let the kids play." And
Is that the worst feeling one you ever had to deal with?
I bet you that's the best feeling. Like, go fuck yourself, dude.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's like
that's not fair.
The most like, man, I'm really invested in this call and disc golf thing. I mean, did that feel like you're rolling over right there? I mean, it that has to hurt.
It has to feel good.
When I first got into it, it did. I was a little intimidated, but after years and years and years, it's like, we're here to compete. We all want to play by the rules. We all want to win by playing by the rules.
Glow tape's a big one right now. No glow tape. We're about to have daylight savings. Get your glow tape off your goddamn discs.
And, and so my go-to saying is, "I'm sorry, I'm making you play by the rules."
Yeah.
I'm sorry you're mad at me because I'm making you play by the rules.
And in a time of self-officiating in disc golf, I think that is the best remark I've ever heard.
Yeah. And it's just sickening to see some of these tour players, and we all know who they are, that
you're trying to bend the rules. It's ridiculous.
Get called on a foot fault and they lose it. They blow up on somebody, and it's like it's not personal. I had to pull apart 2 women. I mean, I literally had to call them on the phone and be like, "If you guys cannot figure this out, you're both going away." They're calling foot faults and courtesy violations on each other, and they're going to file disciplinary complaints, and they're going to do all this stuff, and it's like, you guys are professionals. Is there a better way
to? There's a lot of talk about the escalation of these calls, the footfall calls.
Right.
If somebody in hole 2 says some shit, and then hole 16 it comes back. Is there any way to mitigate that, or do we without field marshals? Obviously, C tiers, B tiers aren't going to have somebody on every hole. Do you feel some sort of solution that can do this?
It needs to start at the junior level.
Mm-hmm.
We need to instill integrity and the rules.
Right?
Sportsmanship. We need to get these players to stop watching NBA, where their only goal at NBA is to get away with anything they can
or just completely fake a foul.
You know, when you play traditional golf, the first thing they teach you is etiquette and the rules.
Right.
Yeah, I'm a golf guy. I started at 7 years old at golf.
Yeah, you know, the entire first tee program. That's what it's all about. I'm not saying there aren't some, you know, super competitive pro players out there that are like, you know, in the woods and they're addressing their line. If the ball rolls and nobody saw it, that, you know, they might not say something.
Winter rules, they roll it up. Yeah.
But for the most part, on the PGA Tour, if they go up and address their ball on the putting green and they see it wiggle, they're going to raise their hand and be like, my ball just moved. I need to take a stroke. Yep. So we need to instill that at a young age and realize, like, this is a self-officiated sport. PGA has always been a self-officiated sport, and they don't have marshals and officials on every single hole. They have a scorekeeper that walks with them and keeps digital score, and there are officials in a cart with, you know, a walkie-talkie or cell phone out on the course that can be there in 2 seconds if a ruling needs to be made. But typically the players just make the rulings themselves. You know, we're never going to get to a point where there's an official walking with every card.
I think we should.
I don't know. Paul Macbeth got $10 million.
I think we could pay an official to be out there for $100,000 around.
Well, so here's the deal. Let's look at it this way. All three of you, the same question. How much do you want to be paid per hour to go out on a golf course and walk with a bunch of bozos and have to make these calls that you're not going to be comfortable with?
Bozos or pros?
They're the same thing.
Brozos?
Yes,
Brody, pros, and bozos.
So where you are going to be put in a situation where you're going to be standing there watching Ricky. Oh, he touched his mini. Whoop, flag up. You know, how much do you need to get paid per hour to do that?
To be a bad guy.
So
to be a bad guy.
I take my yearly wage right now, $40K, $45K.
Multiply that times 18 people minimum. But when you do tee times, there's typically 25 plus groups on a course
also,
at one time.
I've also mentioned, like, maybe we only do the top 5, the ones that are cashing, guaranteed cashing per event.
That's what NASCAR does. NASCAR only
events 2 through 3, rounds 2 through 3
after each event.
Well, Shawn Sinclair is the guy. How do we regulate disc golf rules the best? What do you think is the move?
It's got to be education. You know,
and I agree with you. What Shawn said is it starts at the beginning. Like, you teach these kids it's a self-officiating sport. You learn respect. Like, you watch any ball golf tournament, those guys are calling foot faults or like whatever faults on themselves prior to them hitting any shot.
Shawn, I have a question. Is there a space in the PDGA for tournaments that can only be entered by people who have passed the
it's called an A tier. Yeah, it's called an A tier, Adam. Do some research.
Yeah, A tiers and above, you have to be an official. But what we talked about
is there now that all the tournaments are selling out, is there a way to say, like, you know, early registration for certified officials?
So what we have talked about is right now we have an officials test for everybody, just a blanket umbrella. Do we need a different test for the players and a different test for the tournament directors? Tournament directors are dealing with a whole different set of requirements that may not even be rules specific. So they, potentially should take a different test, and then the players take a more on-course specific test.
I think I agree with that because every good tournament that I've ever been to, the tournament directors knows more rules than I actually know. I can pass it. I can pass the officials exam every time, but a good tournament director that knows the rules knows way more than I do.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not bullshitting. I've never read the book cover to cover, but
yeah, trust me, I know.
I know enough.
Yeah, and that's, I'm not going to say that's part of the problem, but that's inherently how everybody gets into the game. They go and play locally, and the rule is if you throw it into the woods, into the ditch, you get one of your feet close, but the other foot's 3 feet in front of your lie, so you can get out of the woods.
That is not the rule, but yeah.
And that's just, the comparison is like table tennis versus basement ping pong. Totally different set of the way people play. And disc golf at the highest level has to be held to a different standard. I'm not saying that the leagues, which are getting PDGA ratings, should not follow the rules, but
they
that's
shouldn't
one
get the
thing
ratings on the league.
That's one thing we've talked about with our affiliate club program. Maybe we create some type of D-tier developmental thing where there is more relaxed rules.
I like a D-tier.
I like it.
That's cute.
Bring him in the D.
So there used to be a D-tier. That was a thing. It was
really?
called yeah.
Or like an L tier for league.
There is an L tier for league. That's what it's called. But the D tier got replaced by X tier.
Okay.
Okay.
And
where you throw in whatever rules you want, and you can host a XC tier.
The PDGA will take your money if you can prove concept.
Yeah, exactly. We'll give you,
if it smells good,
we'll give you mozzarella sticks. For
Sean,
mozzarella sticks, he says. Oh my god!
I feel like Sean's a little salty on the mozzarella sticks.
No, I love that he's salty on mozzarella sticks. I think a lot of disc golfers kind of.
So
I think a lot of them are.
I'm not salty on the mozzarella sticks concept. I'm salty on the implementation of it. So I think one of the things that we need to do to move towards making the game harder for the best pros, so they're not going out and shooting 16 under on the hardest courses in the world, is at the green. We have this concept of circle one. It's got to be clear. It's got to be open. If I'm in circle one, I should have a putt. Well, if we translate that over from traditional golf, are their greens perfectly flat and roll super true when they're inside?
How many bumpers do you see within a 5 foot radius of the hole?
Exactly. So there's two things there. One, I'm a huge fan of directional greens. So when you see on PGA when they show the arrows and how the ball rolls and moves, and they're like, you got to land
undulations of the green.
You got to land in this 10-foot area to have the best chance at a little uphill putt that's straight. So when you are looking at designing disc golf greens, however the fairway you want it to set up, you design the green not necessarily with like a keyhole per se, but something that makes it so that when you approach from this direction, you've got the clear putt. But if you missed off to the right or left or long, you're going to have to have an obstructed
Right. It makes you think about where you need to put your disc from the tee box.
Yep.
Exactly like it is in the Professional Golf Association or the professional golf world.
And then the second aspect of that, if you don't have the option to do directional green, I don't have problems with some sporadic trees, mozzarella sticks within the circle. Those are the undulations that the golfers have to navigate.
Okay.
Those don't completely block you like a directional green would, but if I step up and I'm 12 feet away, I just kind of got to do a straddle because I've got this little annoying thing in my way. Something that doesn't completely block you, but just gets you a little out of your normal rhythm.
So John, you know who John Houck is. I obviously you know who that is. He preaches something about a 10% rule in the fairways and greens. Like, Should that be something that's implemented? You know, the 10% rule, I presume. For every 100 feet, there should be a 10-foot gap.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so one thing with John is he designs for blue level players for the most part. Like most of his courses are too easy for pros. Like if you've been to the Sela Ranch courses,
Bob's Farm,
it's too easy for pros at Bob's Farm.
Yeah, we'll see when Harmony Bends starts getting played by the gold level players from the gold tees. They're still shooting close to double digits or double digits par,
down, 14 down
on one of the hardest courses in the world.
Right.
So I love John to death, and I love his design, and I think like in the fairway, I agree with some of that 10% stuff, and you'll notice on a lot of his par threes, he does get them, pretty narrow if he can. Mm-hmm. But I think the focus needs to be more on the greens. I designed a course for the Music City Open a couple years ago on a ball golf course that was 13,500 feet long, par 72.
You beat us.
All of the par fives were 1,100 to 1,300 feet long.
I'm honestly. Go ahead.
Some of the most extreme elevation chain you've ever seen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've heard great things about this course in Nashville. I look forward to it at Music City in a couple.
I just went crazy, just like, what's the most extreme, stupidest stuff I can do ever?
I like this guy. This guy knows.
And Dickerson still shot 10 under.
Yeah, you're just like, you're pulling hair out.
He was getting to places and doing stuff that I was like, I didn't even think that was possible. Just so if you watch the All-Star weekend, it was like, oh look, they have an 1,140 foot par 4, and I was like, what? You got to throw 555, 550, and then you have a 40-foot putt. Did you see what it?
Oh my God! You're literally you're preaching to the choir, Shawn, right now.
You need to come down and play Boomtown next year. You and Sarah.
It averaged 3.5. Those guys killed it. Girthy threw a roller the first round of singles, and then threw a rock 3 60 feet long.
And you didn't think it was possible?
No.
That's my whole point is I see these guys, I go out to, I'm super intimately involved with the Jackson course at IDGC and helped make a bunch of those changes and ideas. And, the hole 4, whatever it is, that's got the 430 foot downhill tight wooded hole. I was like, this is stupid. This is dumb. This should be a par 4. There's no way. And then those, Johnny McRae got up and overthrew it with a mid-range.
You and I loving Johnny McRae just fucking.
So they're so good. I mean, have you watched that video that Isaki just put out with the perfect round?
Yep.
Yeah.
I got like goosebumps watching that video, the front 9, not because of how well he played, but the way he was talking and the way he was discussing stuff. He's like, I'm trying to hit 1 foot short of the green grass. I want to hit the rough, and then it'll skip to the right. But if I hit the green grass, it's going to skip straight. And sure enough, he lets go.
Spot in the sky.
Pro skip.
Like,
he let go of it. And he's like, I think that's a little long. Just hit the green grass, skipped forward. He's like, let me throw another one. And he goes, as soon as he let go of it, he's like, oh, that's better. and it hit the brown grass, kicked to the right, and parked.
That was one of the biggest things I noticed when I first started the first year or two. I would watch pros, and they would get these forward skips. They'd land, they'd roll forward, they'd curl, and they'd be right by the basket. and it's so amazing how well
we're getting to the day and age where the
angles.
professional disc golfer is almost equivalent to the professional golfer. Like they know where their disc is going to land, they know what it's going to do,
going to land on,
Yep.
how much spin it's going to have, how much spin it's going to have.
So at Las Vegas, the Innova course, it's 2, 3. So hole 4, par 3, coming back kind of over this ridge and back up, and there's a cart path behind it. And Ricky's like, okay, I'm going to throw a rock just a little flip up to the right. He's like, but it's got to come back just enough to hit the hill. If it doesn't, it'll go straight and go OB. But if it hits the hill, it checks up and parks. So he throws it, he lets go, and he's like, I think that's going a little to the right. And whoop, it went in the sidewalk. And he goes, let me throw another one to make the adjustment. And he's like, he lets go, and he's like, oh, that's a little bit better. And they go to the catch cam, hits the hill, slides up right next to the basket. I mean, it was just so fun. And he did it shot after shot after shot. He threw a blind forehand, and he's like, that's a little short. He's like, by feel, that's probably going to be about 30 feet. They go to the catch cam, and it hits at circle 1 and slid about 2 feet inside of circle 1. I mean, it was dead on 30 feet.
That's insane. It goes back to that profession. Like, Phil Arthur will tell you he can fill a fucking millimeter on a disc that's cut because he's felt so many discs in his life. It just goes to repetitive. So
when I was with Gateway, it was super obvious you could feel the plastic, but I could close my eyes and smell
people
the
don't
plastic.
believe me when I tell them that you, Steve Rico, Phil Arthur, you can feel 1/100th of a millimeter on it.
Yeah. And I could smell the plastic and tell you, oh, this is S line, or oh, this is H plastic, or this is E plastic. I could smell the difference.
Is lighter colored plastic stiffer than darker colored plastic?
Depends. It doesn't. No.
Okay, it doesn't.
It doesn't matter. It just depends on the plastic, I think.
Rocks are a lot stiffer than
Sean, I hope we haven't kept you for too long.
Oh, I'll talk all night long.
All right, we're about to get into the fun questions.
Yeah, we're about to switch over to like fun time, lightning round. I'm glad you stuck around. What's the most valuable disc in your personal collection?
I have never, ever, ever been a collector, ever.
Okay.
But I do have 2 discs. Neither one of them are golf discs. One is a fastback, which they used to use for the MPA.
Yeah.
Yep. It's the premier model, the FB7 or whatever it is, the one you want. And it's the brown copper tone with the little girl in her bathing suit being pulled down.
Oh, God.
Oh, the sunscreen.
Sunscreen, girl. Yeah, the copper tone.
It's from the 70s. It's FB3. That's the model. And it's super valuable. And then the second one is in 2001. Disc golf was in the World Games in Akita, Japan. And U.S. sent 2 players, and Japan had 2 players, Canada had 2 players, blah, blah, blah. And the World Games made a very limited run of fastback type discs.
Told us about this. Who went? Do you remember who went from the U.S., Sean?
Oh, from the U.S., it was Barry Schultz and Juliana.
Barry was telling us about this story. This was Barry's favorite memory from playing disc golf.
Yeah. So they made an extremely limited run of these fastback knockoffs that had the World Games logo on them, and they were packaged like you hang on a shelf with the retail packaging, like cardboard and stuff like that. And it said, 2001 disc golf, and I have 2 of those. But as far as golf discs,
let me get one of those.
You got your month's salary on it, at least on that.
I will tell you a funny story where I screwed up with the super expensive discs. I played in the 2001 USDGC.
Oh, here we go. I already know.
And in the players pack, there was a 01 rock, the yellow ones.
Yeah.
And there was also an unstamped 01 champion Valkyrie. Here's the crazy part. So I was at the time, I guess I was dating Juliana. And so we each got one. So we had 2 rocks and 2 Valkyries. And then I was sitting next to Ben Bott and Brad Schick, who were Discraft players.
Yep, I know Brad.
Okay. Yep, and they reached into the bag and they saw the 2 Innova discs, and they were like, "You want these?" And we're like, "Yeah, sure." So we had 4 of those USDGC rocks, 4 of those Valkyries, and I want to say in 2002 we set up a table at the Kansas City Wide Open and had those in there. And someone came up and saw them and was like, "Oh, is that a rock?" And I was like, "Yeah, they're USDGC ones." I was like, "Kind of special. I'll give them to you for like $20."
I bet you're kicking I'm kicking you right now.
Oh no!
I bet you're kicking yourself, but I'm kicking you even harder.
Can I get one for 20?
Let's go for $2,000 a piece right now.
Yeah, but how do you know? I mean, Brad and Ben had no idea. They're like, "Here you go." You go to a World Championship event and there's some limited release MVP, blah blah blah.
Who knows what 2-time Macbeth World Champion Innova discs are going to be worth in 10 years? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I wish I'd have kept all mine. I'm kicking you, but I'm also kicking myself for selling those Macbeth.
Shawn, is there a disc out there that's lost that you're still thinking about and might still be thinking about you?
No,
you ever lost like one in a lifetime?
Nope. I just had this conversation with. I went to Ogden, Utah for 3 days on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to do a final walkthrough for Pro Worlds. And we just had this conversation. I was like, I have never thrown a disc that I didn't have 10, 15, 20 backups. I never threw one-offs. I never threw weird stamp this or that.
But you're not a collector.
Nope. I only threw stock stuff that I could replace. I was like, I don't want to have that.
Fucking man.
I don't want to have that special this and that flies. No, if it goes in the water. I was even so finicky about stuff. If I lost a disc and it came back to me, I just let the person keep it because it was already gone. It was already replaced. I didn't want it
eliminated from the head.
Yep.
I don't hate it, dude. That's good.
Yeah, until I hear Austin lose his disc and just complain about it for 2 weeks.
Well, I did lose my most valuable D1 over the weekend.
Hey, there she is. Hey, Sarah.
Hey.
Nice shirt.
What happened?
I think you forgot this is supposed to be a lightning round.
Oh, she's saying this is supposed to be a lightning round. I don't care.
All right, so you're in Nashville now.
We have extended.
We normally ask our Waffle House order, but I want to know what's the best hot chicken up in Nashville.
That's mine.
Oh, that's yours. Best hot chicken.
Sarah, your hair looks amazing. I shaved mine. I don't know if I told you saw it.
Oh, it's great. I love it.
No more dreads.
Aw, sad.
I've had a handful of different ones.
Hattie B's.
Hattie B's is the most popular. Oh, there's Frisbee Dog. But There is another place. What's the one over off of Lebanon Pike that we went to with my cousin? What's the name of that place? Oh, Party Foul. Party Foul.
Yeah.
So
Party
they're
Foul.
they're not known for hot chicken, but they do have this like off the menu. It's almost like a chicken parmesan. It's not like wings or fried chicken. It's a actual like meal, but it's called What the Cluck. And
I like it.
It's like not even red. It's like purple, and you have to sign a waiver, and
We'll take you guys there. Come on down. Or come on up.
So what's the signature Waffle House order though while we're here?
I am straight up just the all-American.
Yep.
Bacon, scrambled, hash browns, toast, and a waffle. Just I don't even have to look at the menu. I just there it is.
Count it. Just bread with a chocolate milk and a water, please. And maybe
I don't do any of the smothered, covered, clattered, flattered, none of that stuff.
Clattered and flattered. I've never had that.
Splattered.
It sounds good, but it also sounds like carpentry.
All right,
but
Shawn.
I do love Waffle House.
My house.
Shawn, you just signed a $10 million 10-year contract with this craft. What car?
I already ordered the McLaren.
Oh, you're getting a McLaren? Is that for sure?
I would definitely not get the McLaren. I would 100% get the most top of the line Tesla Model S with
the Model
whatever it is, the ludicrous mode.
Yeah,
that's
from Silicon Valley. Yeah,
my boss may or may not be on a list to order the new Tesla truck.
Oh, I'm getting the truck. I'm on the list. I'm getting the truck.
Yeah,
I am getting the truck.
If you guys,
I'm gonna be like,
I'm buying a Tesla truck.
I'd be like second or third generation on the truck.
I would be the
see how it pans out.
Towing capacity is a 2,500.
Yeah, I'm gonna say no.
Truck company.
We're Subaru family through and through. Hey.
Our 4-cylinder turbocharged Subaru Ascent has 5,000 pounds of towing capacity.
My Ascent.
Was it Sarah? You didn't say the Subaru, did you? That was.
Yeah, you asked me my dream car, and I was like, I have it. I just got it.
Subaru.
Yeah, she said the Subaru.
Yeah.
You and Sarah Nicholson.
Have we taken
Subaru.
Have we stolen your dude for too long? Do we need to wrap this up? Is that what's up?
Did you see where I said this is a great break from each other?
Yeah. She said this is a great break from each other, and then she came into the podcast a little while later.
I love that.
Yeah, we both work from home, plus both of us getting COVID and being quarantined, and
you guys
we're
both
together
had
24. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we don't know where.
Who had the worst? You did?
He had it worse, yeah. I had different symptoms.
And we don't know where it came from. We can't trace it. Like we were not going out to dinner. We were not being around friends. We were staying on our property. We literally went to Kroger to get food 100% with a mask
That's what it was.
on.
You touched chicken broth and you said, no, I want beef broth.
I mean,
chicken broth had that.
All of our friends that we've ever even been around, they've all tested negative. I mean, with no clue.
We've only just played disc golf with people. Like a very
Felix from Ace Run says, can you guys plug your YouTube channel because you're putting out good stuff?
Sinclair Disc Golf. Check it out. You want to learn something, see something funny? It's there.
Sarah, what women's global event are you playing?
I expect I'll just play Nashville since it's close proximity, but I've got a lot of girlfriends in Knoxville area too, and they're running a good one. And then who's running? Mm-hmm. Is Peggy running the Atlanta one?
Yeah, it's full though. You're already out.
Oh, nice. Dang.
Done.
Yeah, Nashville hasn't.
Atlanta's done. We're melting disc golf scenes.
That's awesome.
Durham,
awesome.
you guys come
Nashville
up to
hasn't gone
Durham. You got a place to stay.
Aw, thanks. That's far though.
What's to throw the lightning around? Throw the lightning around back on you. What's the status of Flyboy? I missed that place.
Hey man, you tell me when you're coming down, and I'll get you in.
Yeah.
You got to know something.
Yeah.
Both of you guys. Absolutely. Hey,
If you know
get with
Martin
me, we'll
Young,
get in.
you're in.
You're cool with Martin Young, you're good.
Well, I've stayed at the Airbnb out there. I've flown the planes.
Then you're good.
I just didn't know if it was still playable or still around.
Oh yeah, it's still there. It's still there. Shawn Sinclair is coming into town. You'll be all right.
Dude, we should do a Shawn Sinclair, Phil Arthur, Steve Rico round
Honestly,
and Flyboy.
I'm not gonna lie.
Doesn't he?
I think at this point.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does, Sarah. Absolutely does.
Yeah.
When we were at the
Shoestrikes
Shoestrikes wedding a couple of years ago, they were wearing, the regular wedding attire, the white shirt and the black pants. But
you couldn't tell who was
they
who.
both had freshly shaved their heads, just had a little bit of stubble, and they were.
Luckily, Phil's got that little goatee going on in the front.
Oh yeah. I got that.
How far is Hobbs from Flyboy?
20 minutes.
30 minutes.
40, but worth it.
40, but
looks like we got a trip to make.
Yep, those will be the two to hit up. I haven't played Hobbs.
Oh my god. Well,
let me give you even more reason to dog on Hulk.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I mean to brag on Hulk. I say dog on Hulk.
The only problem with Hobbs is on the west side. That's the only problem with it. I've got a question for you. Shawn, you have been part of disc golf since back when disc golf was kind of intertwined with some other frisbee disciplines.
Frisbee golf, yep.
Are any of those things, do you miss any of them? Like that weird game Scott Stokely played, the weird four
double disc course.
Right. Do you miss any of that stuff? Any of that stuff real fun?
All of it is super duper fun. The problem is, as hard as it is to run a disc golf event, it's tenfold running those field events, and you've got to have the room and space to do it. You've got to have 800 feet for distance. You've got to have a volunteer that's going to go out and mark for every single person throwing distance. For freestyle, you have to have judges. It's like ice skating.
The announcer is key.
Yeah, and there's you got to know all the rules. You got to know all the different things about it. But doing those things, absolutely, that's how I got into the sport. And that's a little tip for people getting into the game of disc golf. There's a reason why Simon is so good and so talented, because he did all that stuff as a little kid.
So how old are you?
He's 35.
I can come down and play in your women's only Masters tournament, but one division above that.
Okay. You've been playing women's only.
They were talking about a women's Masters event.
Yeah, we had to preempt Shawn with some local.
Would you be willing to enter the 50 plus, 60 plus distance contest world record if we had it? You versus Phil Arthur?
I've actually looked it up. I think it's, what is it?
It'd be you.
It's not. I just
at this point.
So the WIF Diff, the World Flying Disc Federation, they still go by the old age divisions, which are 35, 45, 55.
Okay.
Which is what we used to be until the year 2000. Can you imagine that Masters was age 35?
Let's go! Sign me up!
I wish we would. I've lost to so many 36 to 37-year-olds.
Fuck you, Craig Dickerson.
Yeah, I would love to do a distance competition. I'd want to practice a ton.
We'll talk to you guys.
We're sending invites out for the disc golf competition.
Are you going 360 at the age 40 plus, or you going regular?
The age 50 plus?
50.
40 plus. It's 40 plus plus.
Plus.
Yes, I would absolutely throw
360.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
I bet you Phil Arthur throws his EB7 the Penrose.
Somebody tag Keith Bomblin and let him know that we can get Shawn Sinclair down. Sarah Sinclair in the women's.
Shawn Sinclair,
This is
Scott
Yeah, both of them need to be
Feldberg
put
will
up.
show up. Feldberg lives in Georgia.
Well, yeah, he does.
All
right, last couple of fun questions.
Sorry. We're getting
So 186 meters would be my division.
fair. I'm
right,
English.
so
I'm
who-
American.
So
that's
610.
That's more. That's further than I can throw.
610
Got it.
feet. 610 feet for 45 plus to
Bro,
break
I've
the
got
wall.
Can't even do that downhill.
Yeah, you got me beat.
Me and Adam
You got it.
proved last year we can't even throw that far downhill.
I got 550. I got one.
Yeah, not 600. Yeah.
So
All
the
right,
one
so-
caveat that you need to remember when throwing distance is it's where it first touches the ground.
Oh, that
no
was
roll, no skip.
And no roll.
Oh, in that case,
no
I got
privilege.
275 all day.
No, I got you 300.
So when Wiggins threw 1108, it was in the air for 1108 feet.
Oh.
Wow.
What about Jen Allen? Jen Allen's the truth, right?
Yeah. Interesting thing, when she was at that event and that Wiggins and Wolf Simon threw over 1,000 feet. The day that they did it, I was messaging with her to get updates.
Yeah.
And she was talking about how crazy the wind was. And she
Oh,
said that the reason the record stands, even though the wind was so strong, is because those were the only two human beings that were there that could actually get a disc to go past 300 feet.
So she was like,
What? Really?
Yeah, she was throwing like lightweight, beat up, like DX turns.
Wow.
And the wind was so strong that she could not get the disc to turn over and go.
Oh.
She's like, I could.
The first flip, not the second flip.
Yep. Yeah. She's like, I couldn't throw
Wow.
at 300 feet in the tailwind that they had.
That's
Jeez.
so.
That's
Jen Allen's my
crazy.
favorite player, period. And that hurts. That hurts me to hear that. But that's amazing.
You just got to get that perfect fucking wind
So
up.
You just have to do that
You know,
perfect angle in that wind.
having the power and the arm speed to throw 80 plus miles an hour and get it 30 plus feet in the air and have it turn over and run to go 1,000 feet is just it's bonkers.
Yeah.
Truly bonkers.
It's literally
Nobody else could do it.
Small percentage of perfection. Judging
That's
the
crazy
wind,
shit.
The angle, the overstability of the disc, the weight of the disc.
Yep. Just all of it is just.
It really is a world record. If anybody is kind of like, oh,
Yeah.
I could throw a disc if it was that windy. No.
you can't.
Yep. They didn't award the record for, I think, a couple of weeks because they went back and forth and debated whether it should be allowed.
Wow.
And ultimately, they said everybody had a fair shake at it, and
Yep.
nobody else could do it. It was that phenomenal of a throw, so they let it stand.
Fair enough.
All right, Sean, if you could play a celebrity dubs round with anybody, not non-disc golfer, famous celebrity, who would you be playing? Who would be your dubs partner?
Wow, that's an interesting one. Just for the fame and that I have been following him for basically his entire career, and I think it would be funny to see him completely and totally out of his element. Joe Rogan.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Fuck yeah.
And as people who do a podcast about like what you like to eat, but you're also a disc
I
golfer,
would love Joe Rogan needs to come on our podcast.
So
we need to go on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Do you know who Marquise Brownlee is?
Yes.
So he was a professional ultimate player that turned into a YouTuber with his tech stuff, and now he's a multi-hundred millionaire because of his tech channel.
Yeah.
He went on Joe Rogan because of the tech stuff.
He went to like what was it? It was somewhere in the valley. He went to one of those silicon schools to play Ultimate at. Yeah.
But he went when he was on the Rogan podcast, he talked about Ultimate, and they talked a little bit, tiny bit about disc golf, and he mentioned Discraft and said stuff like that, and I immediately went to the PR contact page and like sent a message to Rogan's team or whatever, and was like, I'm the events manager for the PGA. I've been doing this and that. I know all the world champions, and let's do a podcast. You've never seen or heard disc golf. And, I didn't get a single reply at all. But I think that would be hilarious, because
if we were on Barstool Sports, though, Barstool Sports or
Portnoy sold his gene.
Portnoy, help us out.
More reports.
I don't know how much you know about him, but he's like just super talented. He's like a world-class billiards player. He's a archer. He's a shooter. He does a lot of stuff really well, but you never see him do like reactionary hand-eye coordinated type stuff. Everything he does is like real static, real methodical. His jiu-jitsu is the closest he gets, but I think it'd be hilarious to get him out there tossing some frizzies.
Fair enough.
So you don't think he'd be good at it?
I think he could be really good at it if he put the time and dedication into it. He said multiple times that he can't start new stuff because he has a compulsive behavior. Like he got into video games and he had to buy his own server so that he could host LAN games back in the day.
He's obsessed with the stock market right now. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what about Austin? You want to?
Yeah, we're big foodies. We enjoy eating good meals. You celebrating a big win or like a big accomplishment in life, so to say. What's your go-to celebratory meal?
I will not turn down a good steakhouse for sure. And I absolutely love good barbecue. Whenever I travel, I try to find the awesome, super good barbecue places.
I got you in Atlanta, dude. I got a place in Atlanta. Let's go.
Yep, I'm all about the fresh off the smoker, thin cut brisket melts in your mouth. Grills. I own one of those too.
There we go. Yeah. Got him on next month.
It's an easy bake oven for men. It's an easy bake oven for men, dude. It's unreal.
It's the best thing ever. I'm driving home. I turn it on with the app and have it ready to go as soon as I get home.
Dude, just
the meat's going in.
Technology is rule. Technology is awesome.
Yep, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
When you are rolling up to a tournament, whether you're playing or you're the tournament director, is there a song on the playlist that gets you super pumped up? Like, what's the song this week that gets Shawn?
Pump it up, Shawn.
Super pumped.
Oh yeah, pump that jam.
Pump it up.
What's your fucking like? Let's go. Like, what is it?
So, I'm not ashamed to admit that I like anything new. I love new music. I don't care if it's dance or hip hop
Taylor
or
Swift, Kelly Clarkson.
Not necessarily that.
Okay.
But,
sorry.
But I have been a hardcore die fan of Tool since they existed in the 90s.
Okay.
I've seen Tool a dozen times, and this most recent album, Fear Inoculum, is just the most.
Fear Inoculum is amazing.
It's the most incredible thing
You like it?
ever put out. It is phenomenal. I mean, the stuff that's in there, people can't even figure it out. That's one of my YouTube rabbit holes, is watching reaction videos to Tool songs. And you'll get musicians on there that are like, oh, I'm doing this reaction to Numa today. And they'll start off and they're like, okay, that's in 4/2. No, that's what? And they'll stop it and they'll be like, is that 16/4? Is that 30? No.
Don't make sense. It's like dropping ice in a bucket.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So I never get tired of listening to Tool.
I know.
She knows. I walk into like if I'm working on the house and I walk into the living room, I'm like, okay, Google, play Tool. And
Sarah's like, okay, Google, shut the fuck up. We're not doing this.
Yes.
No, I'm kidding.
Thank you so much for coming on.
This is awesome. I love talking about this stuff.
Yeah, can you come back like
probably
every
more than we want to have Sarah on? She's cool and all.
Hey now.
I hear her.
Like first
we're OG friends.
Hey, Sarah just heard all of that, Cody. Come on.
Come on now. I still have my ear speaker.
No, I want to have you both back on. Shawn, you know the history of disc golf better than anybody. Thank you so much for coming on.
100%.
Last question we like to ask is, do you have any questions for us or advice for what we're trying to pull off here?
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
My question is, are you guys tournament directors? Or if not, what are you doing to push the game forward, promote the game, whether it's PDGA, your local scene? What's your involvement? What are you doing?
So I'll go first.
Other
than the podcast, obviously.
I've hosted 25 tournaments in Atlanta. I was always trying to push the women's scene and like you said, the rec scene, the lower level tournament players scene. And I moved to Durham, and it's on its own right now. The women's scene's growing up here, the men's scene's growing up here. I think the North Carolina PDGA tournament coordinator needs to realize that tournaments are going to start selling out in 30 seconds, and there needs to be more seat tiers up here.
By the way, I talk to Robert Leonard like every other day.
Out of Greensville, right? And so I think that's the next step where I'm at in North Carolina, is there's just going to have to be more C tiers, more women events like Atlanta. I don't think we're quite where Atlanta is to be able to have women only tournaments. But I am more pushing this year towards the rec tournaments, the amateur tournaments, where, to be honest, as a tournament director, you make more money running AM tournaments. And the pros really don't give a shit, and they do nothing but complain. And I love you, Austin. I love you, Shawn. I love everybody, but you guys like to complain no matter how well I try to run an event. But amateur, that's what I'm into.
Yeah, anyway, sorry.
Yeah, Frolfcenter.com. My answer to the question is I'm your local pro who likes to come into every weekly action and take everybody's money.
You're barely pro. I'm kidding.
I'm basically the bribe people to decide to stop playing disc golf, but at the same time, I am running weekly action and trying to push forth disc golf. It's been a strong passion of mine since I started playing 10 years ago, and And now recently in my action, I'm putting like the amateurs with the pros instead of like separating. Like, yeah, you can play with whoever you want. I want the AMs to play with the pros, and like I want everybody to get better. And I think that's what I'm doing with the disc golf scene in the Atlanta area. Me and Adam are like kind of working with our like kind of adventure, growing the tag scene to what Atlanta used to be, and maybe hopefully like we can bring a big tournament to Atlanta because we're bringing in so much more money. Just the tags, the group, whatever. What be you? But
I worked a couple of years ago with the head of the CVB in Alpharetta, and she said that there was a privately owned, but it was a big piece of land that the city was going to be acquiring, and she was wanting to know who to contact and what to do, and I got her in contact with the state coordinator and stuff like that, but I don't know if anything ever panned out or not. But
no, they grew too fast. Atlanta's growing too fast to have room for anything remotely.
Where was that piece of property? Was it south of Atlanta?
I'm not sure. I mean, she was in Alpharetta, so
yeah, they don't have room up there for anything.
But no, he just said they had a bunch of acreage. He probably went down south.
This was a piece of land that was a former private like farmland or whatever, but was being either given or purchased by the city. And I had met her at a conference, and she said, "Oh, we got this piece of land, and we're working on our 5-year development plan, and they want to put in basketball and hiking trail and all that stuff." And she had wanted to know about what they need for disc golf, but that was
like down south Georgia, like Griffin, Georgia. What they're doing.
That was 3 or 4 years ago. Yeah, it was definitely in Alpharetta.
Oh.
Well, then maybe it was Cat Point or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know whatever happened with it, but
yeah, we've got some stuff going. I live
Atlanta
about half a mile from a 600-acre park that's going in.
What?
I need to find someone who says, "Hey guys, 600 acres. I have an idea. I just need to find someone who can talk to it."
There's no way there's 600 acres in DeKalb County.
No. So it has to do. Long story short, there's a movie studio who owns 400 acres, and they're going to sell those 400 acres to Atlanta and trade this 600 acre. It's a long story, yada yada yada. I might have a disc golf course 10 feet from my house. It's going to be fine. That's all I got.
Dude, thank you, Shawn, so much for coming on, man.
What else we got?
More
questions for us? Are we done here?
Yeah, we're done.
I think we're done.
We have one more question. Paul Bell wants to know: is it pop or soda?
It is soda.
Okay, fair enough.
Yep, I've never said pop. Coming from California, we said soda.
Yeah. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Bruno.
Hi.
No, I had a question for you. I'm a pit bull guy. How awesome are greyhounds?
These guys are amazing. They're Italian greyhounds.
Italian greyhounds.
But they're actually really big for Italian greyhound. This one is giant.
Were they racing dogs or no?
They don't race. I mean, that would be like the cutest race ever. But
no,
these were
dogs. They're not racing dogs.
These are one of the actual oldest breeds. In Italy, they bred them down from full-size greyhounds to be these aristocratic dogs, and they actually used them as bed warmers.
Which is what we use them for.
Bed warmers. Yes.
Either of you throw.
That's what I would use a dog for in the 1600s.
Yep.
Wait, did you say do either of us throw a whippet?
Yeah,
I used to love that disc. When you have Rico on, ask him about the special flat top whippets. He will go crazy.
Your
Yeah.
dog
Top
flat top whippets.
There was a flat top
Here we go.
whippet?
We're talking about flat top whippets.
Oh yeah.
Why don't we have you on to ask the
flight plate was flexible, and they were like super overstable, and
Yeah.
the Ricos loved them. The Ricos treated those like the 01 rocks.
Yeah.
Coltrane is part pit bull, by the way. We think
Oh, well, I have a pit bull.
Well, I can flip a coin too.
we love pit bulls.
Yeah,
He's a special-
you have
special
to in
boy.
the South. Like,
We love all dogs.
that's
All
every dog
dogs.
in the South.
Huskies.
Yeah.
Huskies are.
Yeah, my dog's been licking my leg for the last 30 minutes. She wants
Yeah.
to be eaten.
Perfect.
Here's our little guy. We're just having Bruno Mars and John Coltrane.
Yep, my pleasure. Anytime. I'd love
You
to be
were
back.
way better than Sarah. I'm just kidding.
That was my only goal.
Yeah.
Just because
I did
Sarah
not
and you
say
were
that.
on in the same show.
We compliment each other. Most of the
All
time.
right.
You do. I like that jacket though. That jacket's fire.
This?
Hey.
This?
No, yours.
This?
No,
Yeah, I
no,
just
that.
got I just got all my Prodigy stuff.
Yeah, the Prodigy one.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
just
do.
all my Prodigy
There
stuff.
wasn't much, but we got some stuff.
So,
Can I
Austin?
put you guys in the big screen and just let you like give all the props you have to?
Yeah,
give?
tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look into this camera. Look into this camera. Tell
Yeah.
us what you got going
It's
on.
the big
Hot
one.
ones. It's hot ones, baby.
Hot ones.
That's right.
Exactly. I am getting ready in a couple weeks to head down to Texas for the first national tour event of the year, Texas States. Looking forward to getting back on the road after this COVID layoff. Excited to start traveling again. She's actually going to be there playing.
I'll be playing for the
Purple
first
hair.
time with my purple hair. Hopefully it'll stay. Hopefully it'll still be purple by then. It's fading quickly. Yeah, Sinclair Disc Golf on YouTube.
Yep, lots of fun content coming there. We got another snow round, and then I just did a little partnership with Wild Discs. If you've heard of them, they sent me some discs. I'm going to go out and play around with their discs and test them out and see how those work. So, good stuff happening.
Oh, and we got our Ladies and Gents charity event coming up March 21st. 6 more team spots. We've got some. I think we have people. Yeah, Sierra from Atlanta's coming up. Maybe some other teams too. So.
Is it boys?
It's been the
and girls?
largest. Yes, it's been the largest mixed doubles tournament in the world the last 3 years.
Yeah, 3 or 4 years.
Nashville, right?
All charity
yeah,
event.
you're
Yep.
starting to build
Yeah.
that event. You said you
what
in
is the
South
name?
Carolina.
That's right. March 21st at a private disc golf course.
I gotta find me
If
one.
you've
Oh,
heard of it,
nah, me
Ogwood.
kidding.
Find you a lady and come on up.
I know a lady.
That's harder.
Hey, Cody, can I borrow Kate?
For Austin.
You can borrow Kate if she's willing to go. I just
I
can't.
bet we'd
I've heard
win.
there's lots. I've heard there's lots available ladies.
Everybody can
I've-
borrow Kate. No big deal.
It's like only a 90 to 20 ratio. No big deal.
Yeah.
Since when?
But-
Anyway,
But aren't there
Guys,
women just
thank you
walking
for
around at
coming on.
Perkison?
Sean, I
Yeah,
imagine
yeah,
you
we'll
have
find
to
one
pee
there, Sean.
really-
I'll bring it.
Please go pee. I peed 4 times since you've been on the show. Please go pee.
All righty.
Good to see you. Sarah, Sean, will you please come on sometime soon in the next 3 months?
And when I show up with a
Absolutely.
Perkerson Park squally up to your event, please don't be disappointed.
Oh,
Thanks,
grow the
guys.
sport, man. Grow the
Grow
sport.
the sport. Grow the sport.
See you, bye.
Y'all have a good night.
Oh, my.
Oh man.
A Perkerson Park squally straight out of the
Jeez,
I
barbecue.
mean, that was one of the best shows we ever had, though.
Ever had. I love Sean.
That's just,
I think I could ask him questions about the PDGA for hours.
dude, I want to know everything about, well, how small should a basket get?
Sean's so smart. Dude, I would like to have Sean.
20
Like
centimeters.
how many times did you hit a pole before you actually hit a basket?
Shawn Sinclair, Andrew Fish, and Martin Young on a show. I want hard.
Dude, why hasn't Martin Young been on the show?
Yeah,
It's
we
a
need Martin
completely
Young on
different
the show.
dynamic.
Yeah,
Brian
that would be
Gort?
great.
I can't wait to have Brian Gort on the show.
Gord is not
He will
coming
never
on the
do it.
show.
He will
No,
never.
he will.
Absolutely
He'll do
not.
it for us.
No, he won't.
No,
No, he won't.
No. He just texted
will
me and
be
said,
like-
"No, I will never come on the show."
on every show, but he will never come.
I'm not lying. I can look at my phone right now, and he says, "No, I will never come
He's
on the
like,
show."
no. I
watch your show every week, and I will not come on the show.
Yeah. Guys.
Hey guys, I appreciate you guys watching every week.
Tell your friends.
Tell me how you really feel. All by yourself.
I don't know why you put me on the big screen now. I feel nervous, and I don't know how to tell everybody where they can find us. But anyways, I'm Austin Lytle. I guess have a good night.
Bye.
Hey guys, I'm Adam. Thanks for coming to the show. I would like to say to you, first of all and foremost, I'm in part of the in-town Atlanta Disc Golf Club. And
nobody cares.
If you guys aren't, yes. If you're not Atlanta, you ain't.
Okay, bye. All right. So this week's giveaway, guys, we got a Throw Pink hat. We got a Throw Pink backpack. We've got a Throw Pink pin. We've got a Throw Pink, I dropped it, stamp. Throw Pink koozie. Just all you have to do, tell your friends to subscribe